It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
The defending champs in major trouble. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, losing the first two games of the series at home against the Timberwolves. Perloff, the Denver Nuggets should be feeling it right now, and Minnesota is just taking it to them. Last night was a complete and utter, first of all, defensive clinic, and secondly, a blowout. This is embarrassing for Denver.
Denver Nuggets scored 80 points last night, Maggie. 80 points.
That's like halftime in an NBA like 2 years ago.
What happened to this? I mean, obviously, they have a good excuse with injuries because Jamal Murray and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope are not themselves. But still, 80 points. Where did all those defenders? Reggie Miller said it best last night. It felt like there were 7 Timberwolves on the court. Like everywhere the Nuggets turned, there was some 6'8" defender in their face. And I was, not to be controversial here, but Rudy Gobert, the defensive player of the year probably tonight, was out, and the team looked way better. They were even way better than game one. It didn't slow them down at all. I was shocked. We made a bet yesterday, and I was kind of wishy-washy on it. Eventually the Nuggets are going to figure this out. I'm starting to think they're not going to figure it out.
No, and this means I'm going to be eating some kind of Jell-O concoction with some kind of weird tuna fish in it. This escalated quickly. I thought for sure the Nuggets would have this bounce-back game. Rudy Gobert, as you mentioned, was out to attend the birth of his child, and he's one of the best defensive players they have on the Timberwolves, and it didn't even matter. Denver was held to 35% shooting. They were forced into 19 turnovers last night. And Jamal Murray went 3 for 18 and Jokic went 5 for 13. I mean, they were just bad, really bad. And you know what's even more, Perloff, is you see what's happening. We had a big conversation yesterday about Anthony Edwards and his sort of emergence as this big star. There's a mental aspect to this that gets flipped. When you win those 2 games in Denver, you take a lot of the boogeyman out of the defending champs. And I think there's a part of this where if the Timberwolves can win this series, they win the title. I mean, who's going to be standing in their way? It'd be a great series with Boston. We got to get there with the finals. But really, you think that they're going to beat the defending champs and then what? They're going to shrink away against OKC or Dallas? I just don't see that happening.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you're jumping to somewhat of a conclusion here just because they could beat Denver. I'm trying to make a case.
You don't think that the mental aspect of beating the defending champs in high altitude, that has to matter,
I don't think it's a mental
right?
thing. I think it's a matchup thing. I think they are just built to beat this Denver team.
Yeah.
Denver would bludgeon these opponents with height, and Timberwolves got them there. They're just tall at the center position. They're tall everywhere. So I think Minnesota is a good matchup. Here's a question. Could a team I'm thinking of Dallas with Luka and Kyrie just coming at the T-Wolves? Yeah, I can't convince myself. You're probably right. But I think the Celtics are still the favorite because the Celtics have more experience and they're the number one team this year. I think the Celtics are favored over everyone. So I'm not going to give you the title. You want to double or nothing this bet? Oh. Can I let you out of this by T-Wolves? Yeah, I mean, listen. Last night, you see it, and it's like they don't even know they're playing the defending champion. They're just out there we're the better team. We're going to kick your butt. Naz Reid and Karl Anthony Towns are hitting a lot of threes. Is that sustainable? Maybe.
It has been through 2 games. I mean, we know Karl Anthony Towns can definitely hit threes. He won a 3-point shooting contest once upon a time. I mean, the other part of this, too, you mentioned about the experience factor. That was one of the reasons I really thought Denver was going to show their experience last night and that they were going to rebound and they were going to tie the series up 1-1. Didn't happen. Denver loses. They're down to 0-2 hole. I think the lack of experience or the lack of baggage or the lack of any kind of understanding on the part of the Timberwolves is somehow helping them. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be that way later on if this series gets pushed to 6 and 7 games. I do think experience then kicks in. But there's a fearlessness about them. They're being the aggressors. They're the ones who are being super physical. That's why you want to bring me Dallas? I mean, come on. The Timberwolves make this a rock fight, and I don't think Dallas would want any part of that. And we've seen with Luka and with Kyrie, that's just not the way they play. So to me, I think this is the biggest test, for the Timberwolves. I'm not saying it would be easy, but if they take care of Denver, it's not a red carpet, but it's a open door to the finals, and then bring on the Celtics because you beat the Celtics on their home floor, and then do they start thinking and their confidence gets shaken a little bit, and you get memories of what happened against the Golden State Warriors a couple of years ago in the finals. This Timberwolves team, I'm going to be eating this Jell-O, aren't I? And it's going to suck.
Well, I think the real and also,
Jell-O with tuna fish. Who is the super villain who came up with that combination?
Let's talk. What is the real story here? We could say all that. And I agree with everything you're saying. And I can't argue there's someone else in the West. I still like the Celtics. Let's not discount the Celtics. But the real issue, Carl, is Anthony Edwards is emerging as that kind of star. Yeah. Are they confident because they know they have Ant-Man, or do you think it's really everything you're saying? I think at the end of the day, when he sort of does, he's such a fancy dribbler now, for lack of a better term. He looks like a Harlem Globetrotter. I think that broke the will of the Nuggets. Like, you try and cover him one-on-one, and he just embarrasses you.
Well, and also they don't have to double Jokic. I mean, yes, Anthony Edwards, let's stick on him for a second. It's a great point. Last night, he was getting compared to Michael Jordan quite a bit.
Not as much. Game one was like a gigantic Michael Jordan, Anthony Edwards party.
Right, but last night hits a shot and then gives the shrug.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the shrug because he was hitting all those threes like Jordan did once upon a time, and that was with the shrug, but it was just sort of the like, you can't cover me type of shrug, and then just cue up the Michael Jordan comparisons yet again. And listen, those are way more... I feel better saying they could win the title before I would say that he is comparable to Jordan, but... there is, you're right, that confidence that the rest of the team takes from him, and the idea that I want the ball at the end of the game. Not just that, I also want to D up the best player, and that's a Jordan signature. Not only am I scoring, I'm also taking on the defensive assignment at the end of the game, too, in the waning moments, and that feels very Jordan-esque.
Yeah,
last night it was a blowout, so it didn't matter. But
Right. Like, I don't think he's going to need to do that defensive thing in this series. The T-Wolves, they also have the right combination of age, where if you look at the other team in the West, the young up-and-coming, Oklahoma City Thunder have a lot of young talent, a lot of weight. They could probably push Minnesota, but they don't have these old guys, too. So Timberwolves
the Mike Conleys, if you will.
I think that's a big deal. Like, you're having a mature guy to balance out Anthony Edwards and Mike Conley. Obviously, Gobert's been around. Cat's actually a pretty veteran NBA player. So I think that's a big deal for this team, is they're not going to be so young where they get overwhelmed by anything. Yeah, the path looks good. I mean, listen. It is the Nuggets. Are we calling this series over? We're not doing that, right? Because we can't be the show that calls the series over and then loses it.
I said I'm going to eat the Jell-O. I mean, I almost just want to do it tomorrow just to get it over with. The next game isn't even till Friday. I mean, let's see how it plays out. I don't think this is the last we've heard of the Nuggets, but you've got to admit, this doesn't look good at all.
Maybe Jamal Murray gets some blood spinning on his calf. He clearly can't elevate like he was on his shot. He was 3 for 18 last night.
Can you go to Germany in time?
I was actually wondering how many days do they have off. I mean, Kobe would have pulled it off for sure. He would have gotten like some super fast jet. It does look bad, and I'm all here for. I mean, this is good for the NBA because Anthony Edwards. We argued about yesterday. Like, he could really become coming into the Olympics. He's on the Olympic team. This could be the star.
Yeah, I know. Yesterday I was like, well, we got to wait and see. Pump the brakes a little bit. Anthony Edwards. Can he be the biggest star in the league if he's not the best player in the league? Yeah, my prediction, my pumping of the brakes doesn't seem so great this morning.
He's been the best player in this series. That's for damn sure.
No doubt. Let's hear from Nuggets head coach Michael Malone, who lost it, by the way, and could have absolutely been ejected from this game for basically charging onto the court early in the game to take on the refs. We'll get to the refs in a minute. But he was given a sort of lifeline in the post-game press conference by a reporter who was trying to keep the team optimistic. This is what it sounded like.
The team is well known by its ability to come back from 3-1 hole several times. Mm-hmm. So how optimistic are you to come back from this 2-0 hole?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge.
Yep. It's going to be a challenge.
The body language of our guys.
Love to get that optimism, but that's going to be a challenge. A long pause, and then, we lost 2 on our home court. We have the best home court in the league.
Yeah.
Because the altitude. Oh, boy.
So, 5 different champions in 5 years in the NBA. Looks like we're going to have a 6. I mean, there's just no way to avoid that. It's crazy parity league. I understand why Malone was upset last night. They were letting physical play go. That's another part of this. If you start to call the T-Wolves differently, maybe they come back to earth. They like this physical style because they have more bodies to throw at you than the Nuggets. Nobody has a bench anymore in the NBA except the T-Wolves seem to. I'm just curious. There are a lot of factors in here. It's not just that the T-Wolves are so much better than the Nuggets because you got the 2 injuries and you got the officiating, which played right into the T-Wolves' hand last night. So, yeah, I think I'm not gonna say over, but this is definitely feeling like a team of destiny.
Yeah, let's. You're welcome to weigh in on the Timberwolves at 855-212-4227. I think if they win the series, they win the title. It's a mental aspect of beating the defending champs. I get you're saying it's a matchup aspect, but who do they match up poorly against? If Porzingis is compromised and they end up facing the Celtics in the final.
Yeah, but if the officials give Tatum calls and they give Jaylen Brown calls, then that's a totally different series.
Okay, so let's pause on the officials for a second. Yeah. Let's stop there. Because they're ruining the playoffs. You really have to work to enjoy this now. Because the officiating, Perloff, has been so bad. And this is the part of it about the NBA that really stinks, is that even if you're somebody who doesn't want to blame the officials, even if you're somebody who wants to say, oh, it evens out, or I'm not a blame the refs guy, or you got to play harder and never comes down to one call, all those things that you can say when you're sitting next to someone on the next bar stool over to say, oh, why did my team lose this game, or why did your team win it? You can't even do that anymore. That's how bad the officiating is. You have to blame the refs. It is egregious. They are just getting the easy stuff wrong, let alone the controversial stuff. And you mentioned it. The way that the Nuggets get back in the series is all of a sudden if they just start calling it totally differently. Yeah. That's a problem for the NBA.
Well, to me, I'm not going to kill them for the little stuff. Like if a ball goes off a guy's shoe in real time, it's not that easy to see.
That was the Knicks Pacers.
You've officiated famously.
I have.
And it hasn't gone well.
I usually have empathy for all those refs and umpires because I was one, but not last night.
Well, the thing is, the league in January decided we are not going to call average physical plays. It has to be a high degree of physicality to get the call. But I don't think the officials can consistently decide when you're letting guys run into each other. It's so hard to have any level of consistency. I blame the league here for not really knowing what they want out of this game. Do they want it to be 90s with the Knicks and Heat murdering each other? Sometimes they do. And then they decide, okay, we're going to give the star all the calls. So it just feels like totally inconsistent. And that's what I think is frustrating. I think that's why Mike Malone looked like he was going to attack the official last night. That's why Jamal Murray threw a heat pad onto the court in the middle of the game, because nobody knows what the officials are going to call from not only from one game to the next, but within a game.
You're so right. And it's true. Usually you kind of get a sense for each officiating crew. This is across sports, right? NFL is the same. Hockey's the same. Like, what are they going to let go and what are they not going to let go? But last night, we'll talk about the Knicks Pacers was the other NBA game that was on. And you're allowing this physical play. It's a super physical series. And then all of a sudden, Dante DiVincenzo sells a flop, sells a call, and he gets it at the end of the game. And that was just one of the controversial calls that happened in the final minute. It's like you weren't calling that all playoffs, and now you're going to call a flop?
Well, that to me that's the call that's going to last. That was so much like the UConn-Iowa game, too. Remember they called it was literally the same exact play.
Yeah, the women's game.
The women's game where they called that. You can't call the pick at that point of the game. Like, officials should all get together and send out a memo. Do not call a moving screen with 14 seconds left in the game. It never works out. So to me, that play overwhelmed the rest of the game. The fact that Jalen Brunson is reincarnated Michael Jordan combined with Isaiah Thomas, nobody's talking about that. Everyone's talking about the officials.
I know, and it's a shame because you're right. Not only, listen, the calls were bad, but Brunson still has to hit the free throws. And as somebody whose religion is basically ball don't lie, I think that ball don't lie is one of the great religions we have. It's just it always you want to explain the universe, you can explain it, spirituality, as ball don't lie. And Brunson did hit the free throws to close out the game.
What? Wait, so you're saying because he hit the free throws, that's excusable? The universe worked out as it should?
Well, I don't think you...
I didn't miss a free throw all night. Of course he hit the free throws.
I know, but I think you can't question it, right? This is what the basketball gods want, because if they didn't, he wouldn't hit the free throws. I'm a very big defender in ball don't lie.
Okay, so did ball not lie when the Knicks basically attacked Tyrese Maxey in Game 2 of the Sixers series?
I saw Joel Embiid
basically
LOLing.
Yeah, the NBA had to come out and apologize.
Someone's not over it.
Yeah,
well,
there's no ball don't lie. This is two full-on disasters in Knicks officiating. If they have a third... I don't know what's going to happen. It's incredible that
nothing's going to happen.
It's so bad.
Zero will happen.
And here's the thing about it, right? This is the part about NBA officiating that also is super annoying, frustrating, and makes it harder to like the game. You are watching the refs blow calls in real time, and then we get a report about it the next day just to confirm that they actually blew all these calls. Like, if you're a Pacer fan this morning, you've got to be ripping your hair out. Obviously, Perloff's not over it with the 76ers, what happened in that series. It's like there's no repercussion. There's no recourse. You're just left to sit there in your own misery because the referees got it wrong.
Well, there is some recourse. The makeup calls are going to be absurd in game 2 because the NBA is sensitive to people on social media killing them. So they're going to do anything they can to help the Pacers. Same thing happened in the Sixers series. Watch, there will be a call. I just, when the official high-fived John Starks after the game, I was like, oh, maybe they're getting a little too into this Garden atmosphere. No, I'm joking, but it felt like, oh my God, there's so much excitement in the building. Let's give the Knicks a call. It was odd. It was just such a funny call because that exact pick that Miles Turner set happens 55 times a game, and nobody ever calls it. That's what the entire NBA is, that high pick. Nobody's ever set, and they never, ever call it. And they call it then. Well, it's really, really interesting.
All right, so you got 2 things there for you. The Timberwolves started off. To the victor goes the spoils. They're up 2-0 over the defending champs. Got to talk about it, and if they win this, are they winning the title? There's another part of this Timberwolves thing that we'll get to in just a moment. And then the referees. Guys, they're ruining it. Can't get through a game. And all the replay and sending it back to Secaucus, which is like where every mobster dumped every body possible. If you want a little image of what Secaucus is like. Spent many, many, many long nights there working for the NBA. And I know that they are very much into this officiating stuff, especially in the last 2 minutes. We all know. But they haven't solved it. And it's just so frustrating and annoying to watch. 855-212-4227. Are the officials ruining the playoffs?
I hate that we have to ask that question, but it just feels apropos today. You're right. I don't want to be a blame the official guys. They did it to us.
No choice.
They did it to us.
Yes,
it's their
fault. It's your fault. You, not us, you. Are you with us or are you against us? 855-212-4227. Okay. Blaming the officials, yes or no? Timberwolves. Oof, this looks bad for the Nuggets. Does it make you think differently, too, about Jokic as an MVP?
We got to stop doing that.
3-time MVP.
Jokic won a championship last year, so now we want to give him the MVP. And now this year, we're like, oh, well, he's going to lose, so now maybe we shouldn't get, like...
EJ, they're down 35. Do something.
I'm just saying, though.
Do something.
I'm just saying. I just look. They look bad. It's been a bad start to this series. But, like, look, he clearly was the best player in the regular season to a lot of folks. I have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as my MVP. But I don't like we told them when they lose in the playoffs, now we're going to take away his MVP.
No, it's not like he's a one-time MVP. Jokic has been talked about as maybe one of the greatest players ever.
Yeah.
That's a heavy crown that you're going to wear, like in a metaphorical kind of way. 855-212-4227. Okay, you are welcome to weigh in. We have so much to get to today. Holy moly. This rundown. Are we going to get to half of this today?
I hope so.
It is chock full.
Put a lot of work in it.
Okay. We'll do it for EJ. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff straight ahead.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. So, it's not sports science exactly, but I think I figured out why no one can cover Jalen Brunson in the NBA, the Knicks star point guard. It's very simple. He's a lefty. People, NBA guards have spent their whole life training to cover right-handed guards. And I just don't think they can figure out the guy moves the exact opposite way of everyone they've ever covered in their life. If he was a righty, I don't think he'd be dominating like this. Much like Rafael Nadal in tennis. Yeah. The spin comes off funny off his racket because he's a lefty.
Always gave Federer a lot of trouble.
Yeah. So I think he's the Rafael Nadal of the NBA playoffs right now. And everybody else is like, I just don't know how to cover this man.
And that's it. They can't figure it out.
If he was you're telling me if he was a righty, he'd be scoring 40 points every game? No, I don't think so, Maggie.
It's a hell of a theory. I mean, he gets to his spots pretty easily. You think that's all because he's a lefty?
Right, because yeah, it's muscle memory. Everybody who's covering him expects their strong hand to be right, and his strong hand is clearly left.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know there's something going on here. The man is 6'1", and he's dominating like Wilt Chamberlain in 1968. He cannot be stopped.
I know.
Explain it to me, Maggie.
How do I explain it to you? I don't think that the Pacers are a really great defensive team, so that would be number one.
What about the Sixers? It's two series in a row.
He just torched your Sixers.
I don't know. Is anyone going to be able to stop him ever?
How about this? He's just that good? I mean, do you want a little bit more explanation?
He's Michael Jordan, 40 points in a row, 4 games. He's not that good. No, I mean, I cannot accept that Jalen Brunson is as good as this run because this is an all-time NBA history run.
Well, I think you're going to have to accept it. Because here's the thing. He's doing this, and arguably their second best player on the team is out, and Julius Randle. Now, I've made the case for the Knicks that having Randle out is actually a bit of a positive, and I don't know if that's going to stay the whole playoffs. But Julius Randle is a bad end-of-game player. He's a good player. He's not someone I would call a poised player. And he would make sometimes silly mistakes at the end of games. And I think they don't have to deal with that now. I think the Nova Knicks are smart players. DiVincenzo and Josh Hart are smart players. Now, Brunson almost gave it away last night. He's got a penchant for like one bad pass at the end of each game when he got trapped by the sideline at midcourt and then basically threw it to the other team. I thought that was going to be a pivotal moment. It didn't end up being because the Knicks prevailed.
Because he's Michael Jordan.
And he hit some really big shots after that.
Yes. I mean, it can't last. I mean, there's never... Okay, he's the first guy since Jordan to score 44 games in a row in playoffs. Yeah. I mean, why can't they adjust? He's their only offensive weapon, like consistent offensive weapon. Just put 3 guys on him. Make somebody else beat you. Your buddy Rick Carlisle.
Yeah.
Try something. Just don't sit there and watch Brunson win the game. You're going to do that 4 times in a row and just go home and figure it out in the offseason? What is he doing?
Well, I think you're going to see adjustments in game 2, but if other guys are hitting shots at home like they tend to do, although Hart did have a huge shot in Philadelphia to win that series, I mean, if they're hitting shots, it's going to be a lot harder just to say, oh, we're going to, box in one Jalen Brunson. It's not going to happen. He's not Caitlin Clark. You can't do that. You better trap him and get it out of his hands. Honestly, they weren't even pressuring full court at times. The Pacers,
they started
I don't understand.
Halliburton and Nembhard Halliburton, you could see lose his confidence in real time. He should just go home. And Nembhard cannot cover Brunson.
Can I also make another case here that's not going to be your most basketball X's and O's, but I think is really playing into this?
Okay.
Is it something just about chemistry? With these guys having this much playing experience together, of winning a title together in college.
Oh,
and
the
now
Villanova effect?
The Villanova Knicks, because here's the thing. We've been always saying, oh, who's the next big 3 and who are the next superstars are going to team up? And you saw what happened with teams like the Phoenix Suns where you get 3 stars together, but they've got no chemistry. They've got nothing to rely on. And it's not just the Villanova players on the Knicks, but that's a good way to start things with guys who really trust each other and have this kind of chemistry. I'm not saying it explains away every basketball X and O here, but it's got to be worth something.
I'm not sure. I will reject that theory. Okay. And you're not alone in that one. That's Nova because it's Jalen Brunson. I mean, obviously, DiVincenzo disappeared for half the Sixer series. Josh Hart, he will start missing shots like nobody. But when you have the best player in the history of the NBA, I mean, because he's a lefty and no one can cover him, Jalen Brunson, there's no way he can keep up this pace.
Okay, let's put on a poll. What is a better theory about the Knicks? Is it that Jalen Brunson, is he unstoppable because he's a lefty, or is it because 3 of the guys played college together and won a title?
Well, it could easily be DiVincenzo and Hart could disappear tomorrow, and Brunson will find somebody else because they're going to have to get the ball out of his hands. He's just so darn strong, you can't do it.
Andrew Bogusch is here. He's got an update for us. Welcome back, buddy.
Guys, good morning. Those headlines sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Call or click today and find out if we could save you hundreds on your car insurance.
Professionals who look at other men's butts.
Rudy Gobert went full Scotty Scheffler last night and skipped Game 2 in Denver to see his baby be born, and his teammates even better without him, smothering the Nuggets for a 106-80 win and a 2-0 series lead going back to Minnesota. Head coach Chris Finch says Gobert still deserves credit for the W.
It's a testament to his impact, his presence, and what he's infused into the team on how important defense is and how great we can be when we play it.
The Nuggets shot 34% overall, including Jamal Murray going 3 for 18. His best shot of the night was throwing a heating pad on the court in frustration with the refs and not getting a technical foul. Also on the daddy front, we had Bruins defenseman Brandon Carlo not on the team flight to Florida Sunday because his wife was about to give birth. Baby Crew was born early yesterday morning, so Dad got on a plane and did this in Game 1 with the Panthers.
Hoyle stops, right circle, Carlo shoots, he scores! scores! Brandon Carlo with 21 seconds left in the period sizzles one in. Way to go, Dad! Bruins 3, Panthers 1.
Judd Surratt on Bruins radio. Carlo's goal was the last of 3 in less than 7 minutes. Late second period to take the lead for good. Boston a 5-1 win on the road. Now back to the NBA and more Jalen Brunson last night. 21 of his 43 in the fourth as the Knicks rallied to take their opener with the Pacers 121-117.
We are the New York Knicks.
Indy led by 9 early in the fourth. Brunson is the fourth ever with 4 straight 40-point playoff games. Victor Wembanyama, meanwhile, is the first ever with 1,500 points, 700 rebounds, 250 assists, 250 blocks, and 100 threes in a season. That's why he's the unanimous Rookie of the Year. Unanimous. 100 non-idiots all voted for him as Rookie of the Year.
No one threw Chet a pity vote?
No, not even Chet.
Well, we know what that means around here. It's official. It's official. Perloff will be gassing up the Honda and heading to San Antonio to apologize to Victor Wembanyama for calling him Wenbustyama. And saying he would not win Rookie of the Year. How you feeling on this day?
I feel amazing.
Yeah?
I already got several invites to join people for tacos and all sorts of different foods.
Okay.
There is.
Do you know any of these people? Is it strangers?
No. A lot of friends are like, oh, yes, you're coming down. That'll be great. The problem is I do have a logistical problem. Getting there, I can imagine. It's getting back that is causing a lot of issues here. Because driving to San Antonio, 30 hours, you could do 30 hours in a car. How do you get back?
Same way.
That's a you problem. I mean, what do you mean? How do you get back? Pick a different route. And maybe go the direct way this time.
I just did when I made that bet. I didn't think out the two-way aspect of the trip. It's daunting.
You ditch the car by the side of the road and
honestly
grab a flight, hitchhike. I don't know.
I actually pitched to my wife yesterday. I'm like, well, if I drive the car down and just leave it there for a couple months, is that okay? She's like, no, we have to take the kids to swimming. That was the actual conversation.
However, would they get to swim?
Yeah. I mean,
which is to ditch the car at the border. And like, I don't know what you're
That's my best plan right now. Give me something better, and I will definitely take it. I can drive to San Antonio. I have the patience to do that easily. I just don't know how I'm getting back to New York for the show. Wenbustyama?
Well, that's the thing. You're all gung-ho on the way there because it's like,
the way there is fun. Yeah,
woo-hoo.
We're going. Is there anything more brutal than the way back?
The way back sucks. The way back is the worst.
Especially after 3 days of taco restaurants in San Antonio. Who's going to want to be in that car with me? Not me.
I was going to say, you didn't have Bogusch, then you had Bogusch, then you blew it with Bogusch, and now who knows where he stands. He's going to be strapped to the top of the car before we know it.
So Bogusch, I still probably don't want you with me.
Yeah, no, I don't want to go anymore.
I feel like you guys should be making playlists, you know.
That's what I thought.
Listen to only Texas music.
All your sad
I'm fine
music.
with that. No. Bogusch likes jam bands. I would honestly going down
off the road,
driving down in Tennessee and a 45-minute Fish guitar solo.
No.
I will just drive right into a lake.
See, you've got me pegged wrong. That is not what I want at all.
No, he just wants to listen to all these different Dave Matthews songs.
Yeah,
that
like
all
a
sound the same.
17-minute two-step, not a 43-minute Fish song.
Oh God, yeah. I think it'd be hard.
There's a difference.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's hard to get. You have so many issues when you're traveling with people. If I had a choice of anybody in here to go with me, who do you think the best traveling partner would be?
We've already talked about this. I would pick Bilotti.
So you guys could talk about 80s comedies?
We have a lot in common.
Yeah. All right.
I think that'd be the best conversation.
I should have stayed home again today.
Easiest to travel with.
Here's where everyone doesn't pick me, not just Perloff. Great.
Listen,
Love this segment.
If we're going to say easiest to travel with, I mean, I'd like to throw my hat into the ring. I'm not going with you, but I think that I'd be easiest because you and I have known each other the longest.
Yeah, but you openly hate driving. We have to drive like 23 minutes to set, and you're like, nah, I can't do that.
I hate it.
30 hours with you complaining about traffic?
I mean, we almost got into an Uber just to go like 10, 15 minutes uptown, and you were like, nope, getting on the subway.
Wouldn't do it with you guys. I'm like, I can't believe
a little bit of traffic. Nope. Get in the subway.
Yeah,
Let's
you
go.
guys such nerds. Seriously, I couldn't believe it. I'm the one who was in high heels. I'm like, there's no shot we're getting in a car right now. Let's get our behinds to the subway. It's going to be so much. Not only was I the only one in high heels, I was the only one who was speaking on a panel that day. You guys were just in the crowd. And I was like, we're taking the subway.
Yeah, you're very adamant. You do not like traffic.
I don't. I have horror stories.
Yeah, so
Don't we all?
That's going to rule you out. EJ is a no-go for me, by the way, because I think we'd run out of Knicks-Sixers arguments after 9 hours.
You would never run out of Sixers.
We just stare at each other for the next 21 hours.
This crap is crap.
You would fight all the way to San Antonio about just the Knicks and the Sixers.
No, while hugging. I mean, how is he not your choice?
Well, EJ, there'd be a 4-hour period where he'd be explaining modern pro wrestling to me. That would be fun. Bellotti has the same thing.
There'd be a Marvel. I feel like that's the thing about me and Pearl is that there'd be great moments, but then there'd be horrible moments.
Yeah.
So I think you can't have that. If you're on a 24, 30-hour trip, you can't have those like polar situations. You got to have
the wild swings.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
the other part is if it's 30 hours, you need to take 29 and a half of it to explain the Kendrick Lamar Drake thing to Perloff.
Yeah.
And that would probably be your whole trip.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of content for that. I feel like Bellotti would shut down after an hour and a half. I feel like we'd get through the Holland Tunnel and he'd be just like, I'm not talking to you the rest
pegged wrong. 45 minutes I'd shut down.
Yeah. Bogusch, you know Bellotti for years. He is not going to talk the entire trip.
He's not the answer. I mean, Maggie has never made a worse choice than I'll drive 30 hours with Pete.
Listen, you weren't there for me in college. I've made plenty of worse choices.
Yeah, but you were hammered. You were hammered.
Oh, and more. What else we got? Did we ever solve that? You're going alone. You have to drive to San Antonio. You're going alone. Get ready.
I'm actually pretty excited about this. I don't know how I'm going to get to WEMBY, but I'm going to find Victor and I'm going to apologize in person, in French. I'm going to learn French just to do this.
Just to think out loud, there is a rumor that we have a sales department. What if somebody got a rental car company to sponsor your drive down there?
Yep.
And then you just flew back.
I like where your head's at.
I like that too.
That seems easy.
Yeah,
theoretically.
It sure does. I mean,
also like
what are the odds of that actually happening like that around here?
Could we get was there something once upon a time called Rent-A-Wreck?
Oh,
where you got to rent like some kind of jalopy.
What's that Uber charge to go down to San Antonio? Does anyone know?
$1 million.
You don't want to go with anyone from the show, but you're willing to roll the dice with an Uber driver and talk to them for 30 hours? I mean, what if they have one of those strawberry air fresheners? Then you're going to really regret it.
I don't want to be in the car with the Uber driver who is willing to drive from New York to San Antonio.
But no, sometimes you're in an Uber and you change your destination mid-trip. Like, I'm going to go 15 blocks away. Actually, I'm adding a stop at San Antonio, Texas.
I was going to start with the Empire State Building, but I'm going to add a stop.
I'm just going 15 blocks this way and then 30 hours southwest.
Oh, yes. Why is this car ticking?
It's so funny if you just don't even mention anything. Like, I just got to add a stop. It's Detroit.
Oh, I know.
Then pick up another Uber.
Ooh,
Chicago.
Can I go through Detroit?
You could.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Draft is over, Perloff. No reason to go through Detroit.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, I don't know.
Canada.
Oh, I'll be in Detroit.
They got
later
great pizza, though. Detroit pizza is awesome.
That's true.
Squares. Anyway, all right, you gotta pick somebody or pick nobody, but you are driving to San Antonio because it's official. Wemby won Rookie of the Year. What else we got, Bogusch?
We got BenSimmons looking dapper at the Met Gala last night here in New York. Simmons wearing a black suit with a kilt-like plaid fabric on the shoulders of his jacket and overcoat, but the headline was the bag he was holding. It had a large clock face on it, which the internet did not ignore. A couple of the things tweeted about Sweet Ben last night. That bag clocked in more than he did this season. Sherlock Simmons and the case of missing playing time. Is the clock to remind us of a time when he once played basketball? And unlike most games this season, Simmons was dressed last night.
So it's funny because he was wearing something, you're right, that looked like a kilt. It looked like some kind of WWE character, Scottish thing that went wrong, or like Rowdy Piper, who Andrew Kaplan in his Photoshop skills Photoshopped Perloff in the Rowdy Piper kilt at the Met Gala.
Oh, that wasn't live?
Exactly. And people thought Perloff got an invite to this very fancy fashion thing and wore a Rowdy Piper.
This is what happens. Perloff gets to say courtside Knick games. Now they think he's getting invited to the Met Gala.
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, he
I think I could squeeze him. I've been, approached about the Met Gala before.
I was going to say, of all the people, let's talk about all the people on the show. I think Perloff's is closest to the Met Gala than the rest of us, considering how many movies he's been in.
4, yeah. I'm a legit SAG-AFTRA member on the acting side. Yeah, I think it's a matter of time.
Wait a minute. What do you do at the Met Gala? You just walk up the stairs with the costume on?
That's a good question. Like, how do you actually sit when you're like Lizzo and you have a gigantic outfit?
No,
what happens at the? That's a good question, Pete. I was wondering, Maggie, do you know?
I do know because when I hosted a show with Bart Scott, he got to go. He was a date of Tim Tebow's.
So is it like a dinner?
Yeah, it's a dinner, but nobody eats.
That sounds like fun.
Sounds so much fun.
It's a dinner where nobody eats, and they're definitely trolling everybody by making them walk up those steps. You don't have to walk up those steps, right? You could.
You mean there's a back door?
No, they could make the red carpet just something kind of flat,
right?
And it's up the steps of the Museum of Natural History or whatever.
No, the Met.
Oh, right, the Met.
There was a woman last night.
I'm an idiot.
Tyla, is that how you say her name?
Yeah, Tyla.
She had to be carried up the steps because her dress was so tight.
It
she
was
couldn't
so baller.
walk the steps.
It was kind of like what I imagine, like some kind of child king or queen. Did they say King Tutankhamun was only like 12? I imagine that's how he got around in the ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
Anyway,
if you're BenSimmons, you can't go to this, right? Like you get the invite.
What else does he have going on?
I would hope working on his basketball game.
His NBA Q rating's so low right now, EJ. It can't get any lower. I mean, it has nothing to lose.
Also, Kaplan's pointing out, he's also a lefty. So your whole Jalen Brunson is a lefty, which makes him unstoppable. Doesn't really apply to BenSimmons.
Jalen Brunson is actually a lefty. BenSimmons just screwed up at some point in the past. He's a total righty.
That's that too. Yeah, there's a theory he should be shooting with his right hand.
That's not just a theory. It's obvious. 3 seconds of observation. That dude does not know how to shoot.
No, that was 2 Sixers #1 draft picks who are shooting with the wrong hand. Markelle Fultz was shooting with the wrong hand too.
Oh man,
wasn't he?
Well, that was more of an injury that then turned into.
We heard his shoulder.
Oh,
but
right.
I mean,
a weird
I'll give
thing.
Fultz credit. At least he wasn't at the Met Gala last night after losing.
This guy, BenSimmons.
I thought he looked good. I'm more into
He
him.
looked great.
Yeah,
it's
he
the
looked
only
really
thing
good.
he can pull off. Imagine being able to pull off that ridiculous outfit more than being able to pull off a Brooklyn Nets uniform. That's sad for a basketball.
I mean, watch him have this great second life as a model actor kind of guy.
Well, good luck.
Well, he didn't have a first life.
It
should be his first life.
Yeah, got very rich for doing very little.
That clock represented his career. It's at 12.
Honestly, NBA Insider people on it.
He should have been at the Tom Brady roast.
Total loser.
Oh my gosh.
We should just have Pete roasting the NBA.
You want to make some money? Let me do that.
What, Pete being a commentary for like the E Network?
Yeah.
Talking about people's outfits?
Put me on the NBA Finals.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want NBA TV?
Oh, God. That would be brutal.
Hey, you have about 5 people in the booth anyway.
It's like, who's the coach of the T-Wolves again?
Last night you might not have known.
Good.
It was someone different last night, the assistant coach.
I told you.
I love you.
Well, that was a lot.
Let's go Knicks.
Thank you, Bogusch. Appreciate that. A lot happened in that segment. Biggest takeaway, Perloff has to drive to San Antonio. Coming up, we have another NBA player could be on the move. We'll get to that next. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Something to say about Tom Brady and a roast on that day. He's angry and he's speaking his mind, saying Brady was out of line. Should've known better, should've thought twice before agreeing to that roast. It ain't right, talking about his ex-wife crossing the line. Peter Bellotti says someone needs to find that children shouldn't have to hear all of that. It's not fair to them, it's a matter of fact. Brady, you messed up, it's time to face the truth. Peter Bellotti won't forgive you, that's the truth. Believe Bellotti's got something to say. Infinity's mice, he's feeling the dismay. No NBA on NBC, what a shame. Just JJ Redick's wine ain't the same. Peter Bellotti is getting upset. Maggie Perloff, can you hear his plea? Bring back the NBA on NBC. Set his spirit free, he misses Mar. Co-stars and the crew, those were the days. Pete cries out boo, boo. Bring it back, or can't you see? Bring back the NBA on NBC. Let it be. Pete's mad, he's feeling sad. Bring it back, oh make it right.
30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Read our minds. Perloff was just saying that Taylor Swift is a sellout. That's what you said, not me.
No. Get that out of the podcast. That is, I'm not saying she's a sellout. She's trying to be something that she's not. She's trying to be this indie rock kind of Lana Del Rey national figure. And honestly, I want to go back to 19-year-old Taylor. Am I going to get into huge trouble for that?
Yeah, they're already coming for you with pitchforks. Let's get back to sports. You had this report yesterday. Stay in our lane. Had this report yesterday that there could be some mutual interest between Klay Thompson and the Orlando Magic, Perloff. And
let's go back to Taylor. What?
No, we got to pause on this because attention must be paid, as they said in Death of a Salesman. And that's when maybe something really special is coming to an end. And I think that Klay Thompson is doing the Warriors a favor here if he is going to go sort of quietly and not make a big stink about wanting to end his career with one team and end his career with the Warriors. Because Klay is certainly seeming like the odd man out here. And if he's willing to go to Orlando, that takes care of this massive headache that could have been on the Warriors' hands where you have to say goodbye to a legend of the franchise.
So you're saying, as a favor, Klay Thompson is going to Orlando because to show his loyalty to the Warriors.
No, I think he's making it easier on them. I don't know, maybe just because he wants to keep playing, but he's like helping them navigate something that can sometimes get really messy at the end when someone's done so much for one franchise, and then you got to say goodbye.
I totally follow your logic, and I think but it just sounds funny to say Klay's doing the team a solid by going to Orlando. It's just like, I don't think Klay sees it that way. It's funny. I think Klay thinks he's still a valuable NBA player and thinks he could, which I don't think most people agree with him. And I don't even get this Orlando thing. Everyone's been saying you add a Klay Thompson or you add a Paul George and all of a sudden you're making him a contender. He feels like one of many 35-plus-year-old NBA players that people are going to sign and instantly regret for this money. And I think the Warriors, you are absolutely right. They'd be better off without paying him big money. That's just a reality of age and the way the NBA contracts are right now.
Yeah, and listen, and if Klay Thompson, who is such a key figure in the history of the Warriors, let alone the history of the NBA, with him and Steph as one of the greatest backcourts of all time. But the history of the Warriors, if he said, and he was public and out there saying, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. I want to stay. I've done a lot for the organization. You're putting them in a really tough spot where now the team has to be the bad guy and say, thanks, but no thanks. And
well, what if he does much less money? That doesn't sound like something NBA players usually do.
I was going to say, who's the NBA player who's ever done that? But, and this is going to feel like it's maybe kind of harsh, but I think Klay Thompson in Orlando Magic jersey is going to go down as one of those weird, Patrick Ewing in a Sonics jersey, like all these things that don't match. And, I'm not saying that Klay, like clearly, Steph was the best player on that team, but still, like Klay was such a massive figure in what was, turning around a franchise that had not had success since the 70s, maybe a little blip in the 90s, and that was it.
Let's not forget Run TMC with
I know,
Chris Mullin.
Blip in the 90s.
Yeah, that was more than a blip. I love that team. Anyway, you're totally right. He is a defining part of this franchise. But you nailed it. And Patrick Ewing ended as a Sonic. I think Akeem was on the Magic or something. It always goes. Emmitt Smith was a Cardinal.
Yep.
It never ends the way we want it to. There's always one or two bad years at the end, and I think that's what we're setting up here. If I was Klay, honestly, I would say, Warriors, you can have me at a discount. But I don't think that rarely ever happens.
No, it doesn't. And it's funny because he's not going to be the only one who's, we're setting this up for, right? Which is, there's going to be a lot of older guys here. You're really giving $220 million to Paul George, all these. But
let's talk about it. You're giving $160 million to 3 years for LeBron James. He'll be 42, making $60 million a year.
It's crazy. If you stick on the Warriors just for a minute, though, I mean, definitely also would signal the end of the era. And is the dynasty over with Klay gone? I mean, I think you have to say the dynasty's over because he's such a key cog. It would just be a very different. We'd need a different term for the new Warriors, right?
No.
A Klayless
No,
Warriors?
you're just saying that because you want your Last Dance take to be true.
Well,
I mean, it's.
I think that one. I think I was wrong on that one.
In reality, well, maybe not. In reality, I think the Warriors want Kuminga to step up and be a star, and that would bring new life to the end of Steph Curry's career.
Yeah.
And that would be possible if the West didn't have 10 amazing teams in it. It's just going to be hard for them to make noise again.
Yeah.
And Klay's not going to win a championship for them next year. It's got to be, the young guys got to step up.
Or they've got to also try to find someone else. I mean, is this a situation where the Warriors are saying, hey, maybe we bring in LeBron James, or hey, maybe we do something else that's like another big move?
It's a big risk, though. If they're going to bring in an old superstar, say KD, how about him? He'd look good in a Warriors uniform. I've seen it before.
Yeah. KD back to the Warriors?
It's tough. How did all our favorite players get so old, Maggie? How did it happen?
855-212-4227. Okay. Big question surrounding one young superstar. Also, are the referees ruining the NBA playoffs? Lots to do here. Maggie and Perloff on this Tuesday, Infinity Sports Network.
Bogusch weeps. He's got the road trip blues. Left behind feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio, can't believe his eyes. But Bogusch stuck at home, his heartache amplifies. Betting against WEMBY, Perloff took the fall, but it's Bogusch left behind, feeling 10 feet tall. A loser in his own right, can't catch a break. Road trip dreams shattered, for goodness sake. Got the road trip blue.
Well, you know the rest. Cousins chose it.
Roasting Tom Brady, we took it too far. But Maggie don't care, she's a superstar. Said the kids need to learn to laugh at the pain, so we'll keep on joking, no need to explain. We may have crossed the line, but who's to say? Maggie's teaching her children to handle it her way, making light of the struggles, finding joy through the tears. With a sense of humor, they'll conquer their fears. Ha ha ha, let's laugh it off, put a smile on your face. Bring on the jokes, no need to keep the pace. We'll turn the pain into laughter, let it all go. Ha ha ha, together we can grow. Roasting Tom Brady.
20.
Bogusch weeps, he's got the road trip blues. Left behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio, can't believe his eyes. But Bogusch stuck at home, his heartache amplifies. Betting against WEMBY, Perloff took the fall, but it's Bogusch left behind, feeling 10 feet tall. A loser in his own right, can't catch a break. Road trip dreams shattered, for goodness sake.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Forgive us if we're a little giddy around here today. One of our big show bets got paid off last night.
Shocker.
In some way. And then we got to set up for the big payoff later on this summer. And that is Victor Wembanyama won NBA's Rookie of the Year, the alien. Perloff predicted he was going to be a bust, said that if he won Rookie of the Year, he would drive to San Antonio to personally apologize to Wemby. Well, Wemby put together maybe one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen, and now you are going to be gassing up the car and heading to Texas.
Best rookie season. How many games did the Spurs win?
Well, very few.
So why does everybody ignore that? He had good numbers on an awful team. I mean, he's amazing. Listen, I'll watch a Wemby highlight reel before I'll watch anything. But that being said, it wasn't an all-time season because they won 18 games or something like that.
Yeah,
anyway.
But nobody expects Rookie of the Year to be on a winning team. That's a standard that's already been set.
Yeah, but Victor Wembanyama is being compared, including by me, to a young Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like Shaq and Kareem came in and won immediately. LeBron won immediately. I mean, they jumped 25 games.
Well, LeBron didn't make the playoffs his first year.
But they jumped like 20. I think he was. I have to check this. They went from like 20 wins to 40 wins immediately. All these guys, all the greats win immediately. And I think Wembanyama is going to be there. That team was particularly bad around him. I will give you that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Spurs deserve a lot of criticism for that. I mean, let the guy play with an actual point guard. You know, give him more tools. I don't think that the Spurs went into this season thinking that winning was at all a priority. There were like five different priorities, and they all had to do with Wembanyama, and none of them were winning. And having a meaningful season in that way. And it's, I think, a credit to him that he overcame all of that and still was so spectacular that you didn't even look at really the record of the team, and you still gave him Rookie of the Year unanimously. Now, here's the question. As we know, Perloff's going to be heading to San Antonio alone, driving. Not sure how you're getting back.
Yeah.
I think you just have to drive back, but we'll get to more of those logistics.
Is there a boat that I can get on in Galveston and sort of cruise back?
Boat? What are you, Magellan?
I'm just saying, I don't want to drive both ways.
You should have thought about that before you called the Wimbush Yama.
Great point, EJ.
It just sounded so good, EJ.
Also, how long would it take you to take a boat from Texas back to New York?
I don't know. I have no idea. I will Google it right now.
You want to be on some kind of cruise ship? You stop in Miami?
You go around through the Gulf of Mexico. You come up Florida, depending on the weather and where El Nino is, and you come up the East Coast.
Yeah, right through the Bermuda Triangle, and you're back home.
It'd be lovely.
Well, we'll see if we can get a ship for you.
I mean, we're going to see where the tides are.
We won't see Perloff for 3 weeks.
In 3 months.
Yeah, with the rate of this trip is going.
He's going to take a boat, come back with scurvy. He's going to look like all of his teeth are all hanging out of his head and wearing rags.
That'd be a good reality show. Me trying to get back from San Antonio without a car. How would I do it?
And how much money do we give you? Like $500?
Yeah, $500. Could I make it?
He's going to be doing the show from a payphone in Iowa somewhere.
Yeah, Perloff just calling it with raging takes against, I don't know, someone's OTAs. This is going to be a fun experiment.
Yeah, it should go terribly. I can't wait. I'm actually really excited.
He crawls back into the office with one shoe on.
I mean, full disclosure, the real reason I want to do this is because there's this breakfast taco place in San Antonio that I've been dying for an excuse to go back to.
I mean, it's such a big thing to do for a taco.
You just haven't had these tacos, Maggie.
I don't think it's good. I doubt they would make you want to be in the car for 30 hours.
There's eggs and beans. I don't even know what they do with these tacos. They're so good.
Well, the other part is...
I think about them all the time.
You have not even double check to make sure this place is still open.
No, I have no idea. I don't even know what it's called, actually.
You could get a Wally World situation there.
That's what I was thinking.
When you arrive and it's closed for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it's closed on Mondays, and I show up.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're on vacation for a month, or something's wrong with the electrical equipment or something, and Perloff's, parking in the back of the parking lot, running into chariots of fire.
You guys
out front should have told you.
Sorry.
You guys ever been to San Antonio? The Alamo is the big tourist attraction. There's no tourist attraction in America that is actually smaller than the Alamo. It is tiny.
Really? I've never been.
You think the Alamo, you've heard about the Alamo your whole life, and then it is the smallest little place that these 12 soldiers hold up on. Anyway,
so it's basically like an apartment?
It is crazy to me how small it is. I think a lot of our listeners have probably seen the Alamo. It really is it's tiny. That whole story about the Alamo, you have to realize back then, it was not gigantic armies who were fighting. Anyway, I'll do a full report on the Alamo, historical report from San Antonio.
Yay, lucky us. We get Perloff's road trip and we get a homework assignment? No thanks.
I don't know. You had to watch a Marvel Civil War. Maybe he should have to talk about the Alamo.
I could do historical landmark. I mean, yeah, I could do Civil War, battlefields.
We can't let you go full dad on this. Yeah,
I could take this trip many ways. I could do dad trip, sports trip.
Thank you for the report from the world's biggest ball of yarn. And nobody cares. But yeah, it would be fun for all of us to kind of laugh at your misery a little bit when you're driving 30 hours and then figuring out how to get back. But Wembanyama does win Rookie of the Year. And now the question is, if he was, if you were starting a franchise and you only had one person you could pick to start it, would Wembanyama be overwhelmingly your choice considering this rookie season?
Oh, boy. Yes. I have two choices, and I think someone else in the room will pick another person. Yeah. But to me, it's Wemby because no one's ever moved like that at that height. I don't buy into tall players in the NBA anymore, but he is just so unique as an athlete. You watch him. I like guys who move like you've never seen him before. I'm a big Zion fan because he's such a combination of strength and speed. But Wemby's at a whole different level. He can dribble like he's 6'2". He's so athletic. He gets up so fast. I don't see the path where he doesn't win in the NBA. I think he's going to win a title.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he won a title, but they're going to have to get a better team around him.
Absolutely.
Now, this is going to be an unpopular pick considering they got smoked last night. I still think my choice would be Jokic, though, because, I don't feel like I have maybe the injury risk that I still feel like Wembanyama with that body. It's awesome to watch him, and he stayed, knock on wood, pretty healthy this year. But that's an interesting... Those are interesting proportions for a person to hold up over a long period of time. And I think again, this is unpopular to say today because they just got the doors blown off him last night. But I think Jokic makes his teammates so much better. Wemby could get there. I think he will. He's a good passer. But Jokic, there's something about him elevating everybody on the team that makes me think, I have a little bit of margin for error here on how I build my team, and Jokic is going to still make everybody so much better.
But he's 29.
Yeah, I know. A little bit older. Wemby's 20.
Yeah. Do we go around the room?
There's
one guy.
EJ's going to pick Jalen Brunson.
There's one. No. There's one guy that we're not talking about who I think has to be
Anthony Edwards now.
I mean, how can you not at least after last night? How can you not talk about Anthony Edwards in this conversation?
He's in that. He is in the conversation. Amazing two-way player.
22
years old, physical, knows for the moment, wants the moment, calls out teammates, and has those kind of leadership qualities too at such a young age. I mean, he's definitely the alpha that you could build your team around.
Yeah, I still think Wemby, there are other players who are close to Anthony Edwards on the way. I mean, listen, John Morant looked like that guy 3 years ago. And then there are other players. Zion sometimes looks like that guy, but nobody looks like Wembanyama. That's the only difference. Like, there's no replicating Wembanyama.
Well, listen, we're talking about San Antonio. We're talking about Perloff's going to have to drive to San Antonio to apologize to Wembanyama. Got to wait for him to get through the Olympics first. Got to figure out this whole timing of the road trip. But Kevin is calling. He's in San Antonio. Am I being told, Kevin, you are literally eating breakfast tacos?
I love your radio station. Y'all was talking about tacos and Wembanyama.
Yeah.
And I never seen a player that plays like a guard and a forward at the same time. He's good. He got skills. He just anointed.
Kevin, tell me about the restaurant scene in San Antonio. How many good taco places are there?
Man, it's to tell you the truth, it's a lot of taco places. You could try Taco Cabana. They got some good tacos. I made my tacos for breakfast, chorizo and egg. And I ate 5 of them.
You made 5 of them?
Yes.
Are they the minis?
Now, I work out a lot, so,
you can do it. Okay, good for you. I put down 5 tacos. I feel like I wouldn't be able to eat for a week, but good for you, Kevin. Okay, so if Perloff comes to San Antonio, maybe we can help, and maybe you can be our boots on the ground, kind of help make it this big sort of welcoming party for Perloff?
Yes, I will. I would definitely do that. I'll just say, welcome to San Antonio, and show you the places where you can eat tacos.
How about that?
Love it.
A little taco tour. Kevin, thank you so much. Appreciate you weighing in, and we'll be back in touch as we get closer to this big trip for Perloff.
Okay, did he say Copacabana Taco? I'm finding a Tacos Copacabana in San Antonio, and it looks amazing.
Wait, but the thing is, you've been dreaming about this breakfast taco. That's why you made the bet that you would drive to San Antonio. You don't even know the name of it. Do you even know how to get back to it?
No, it's right near the hotel that I stayed at for the Final Four. So I can go back to that hotel and walk 3 blocks.
What hotel? Do you remember?
No idea.
How are you going to?
Oh, my gosh.
What are you going to do?
I remember there was a lot
What Final
of...
Four was this? Who was even playing in this Final Four?
It was the one with a nun.
Oh, Sister Jean?
Yeah, Sister Jean.
Illinois, Chicago.
Yeah, there was. We were staying in the Sister Jean Hotel. So I got to Google where did Loyola Chicago stay in 2017.
Can I be a fly on the wall when you have to text Dan Patrick and be like, hey, Dan, what was that hotel we stayed in
no idea.
in 2014 or whatever?
He will have no idea.
Dan, remember that breakfast place? Let's go to Frank, who's in Georgia, has got a thought for Perloff on paying off his bet. Frank, how are you?
Good. Good morning.
How you doing?
Hey, good. Pearl, I think that you should just rent a car, drive down there, do your apologies, and then fly back.
I know, Frank, it's expensive, man. Renting a car for that many days, it's going to cost you probably close to $1,000.
Yeah, what's the deal with rental cars nowadays? Are they expensive? Yes. I haven't rented a car in forever. And also, you have to pay per mile?
No.
I don't think you
pay by the day, I think.
You pay for the
day.
Yeah.
What if you exceed for thousands of miles?
Well, the other part is they charge you more if you pick up in one place and drop off at another. So you're going to get charged every which way. This is why we've got to get you some kind of a sponsor. Hey, wait, Frank, am I right? Did you call in once before? Do you work in the food industry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Yes, because you settled something for us where people said calamari was some kind of pig's anus or something, right? Am I getting that story right?
True. Yes,
that was you, Frank.
Frank, our man, Frank, who was debunking these urban myths the day that Perloff was eating the chili or whatever. Anyway, I now look like I'm going to lose a food bet. I haven't done one of these in a while. And I've got to, if the Denver Nuggets lose this series of the Timberwolves, I've got to eat some kind of jello with tuna fish in it. Have you ever heard of something like this?
That sounds gross.
Yeah.
Actually, I've never heard of it, but that sounds gross.
Yep, you're right about that, Frank. Sounds gross.
You should make it more enjoyable, like have to eat a whole cheesecake or something like that.
Yeah, I know. I've done those before, too. Shockingly, those are
amazing.
Not enjoyable. You think those are enjoyable? Frank, thanks for the call and checking in.
That's it. Actually, cheesecake would be one of my foods that I could eat a lot of.
The amount of pain that you're in when you eat that much food, I'd rather eat a little bit of something gross than eat a lot of something awesome. Like I ate a whole pizza one time in 2 hours, and it was painful experience. I thought my stomach was going to explode.
Really? I feel like that's not that much pizza. Like when I'm sitting there, I usually eat 3 pieces. I'm like, I could eat more.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Is it kind of like drinking a whole gallon of milk? That urban legend that you really can't do that?
It's like the timing of it too.
Yeah. Like you think, your
all
body
of a sudden
hits
you're
a
on
limit.
The clock.
Your body hits
hard.
a limit.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm doing some research. In 2018, the Loyola Chicago team stayed in the same hotel as the Oklahoma City Thunder and got a pep talk from Russell Westbrook. No wonder they didn't win the Final Four.
No.
But it doesn't say which hotel this was.
Then they went out and shot 18%.
Yeah. That is even meaner.
I'm sorry. 855-212-4227. If you were starting a franchise, would you start with Wembanyama? He won Rookie of the Year last night. And, oh, by the way, it means Perloff has to drive to San Antonio to apologize to Wembanyama.
Is that Kawhi?
No, that's our guy from Pennsylvania. Right?
Come playoff time?
We thought his laugh was fake, and then his friend called in to tell us it was real.
Right.
People say we're a national show, but we're a local show, man. Remember callers like Frank who set us straight on whether the calamari was the pig's anus? Remember that day?
Yeah, I try and forget that day. That was super gross. And by the way, your lime jello tuna pudding is the grossest thing I've ever seen. Honestly, we're going to have a trash can right next to you.
What is this thing called again? I need to look this up.
I will find it. It's tuna pudding, I think it's called.
Oh, my God.
I don't believe people in Minnesota. I know people from the great state of Minnesota. I cannot believe they actually eat this crap.
Well, I'll tell you what. Denver better get off their butts.
I got to tell you.
Tins of shots.
I wouldn't be betting on Denver right now.
No kidding.
Hope maybe the series gets canceled or something.
My grandmother's from Norway, and there's a lot of gelatinous fish products. I'm just telling you. That's a thing for the Scandinavians.
Yeah, this is why I can't go there. Even on vacation, I'd starve to death.
I think it's another reason. I think we should all be rooting for the T-Wolves just to see this. But I have to. What would I have to eat if Denver comes back?
The Rocky Mountain oysters.
Yeah, that's not good either.
Yeah.
I think you're.
We could have said pig's anus, but we said bull testicles.
People,
What's that?
There's some people who like Rocky Mountain oysters.
I don't know if anyone likes it. I think some people will eat it like it's some kind of delicacy or something. But does anyone like it?
It is kind of gross, but I
rubbery.
think honestly, I think yours is worse. If we put up two pictures in a poll, which would you rather eat? I think most people would eat the Rocky Mountain oysters.
Oh, I've eaten a Rocky Mountain oyster.
You have?
Yeah, when I was with my husband, we were in Colorado. We're like, well, when in Colorado, do as the Coloradoans.
And
it took one bite. I was like, ugh.
Do you have to cut it with a knife and fork?
Yeah.
Like they're that big?
It was sliced. This is going to make every man listening wince. Sliced and like flattened and then deep fried. And then served with like Perloff's face.
So it wasn't round?
You're turning like the blood just left your face.
It wasn't like a
no,
ball?
No. It's not. It was not a ball. No.
Did you guys picture a ball when you were thinking about Rocky Mountain
I feel like
oysters?
most of the time when I see them prepared, they're usually not sliced.
Oh, this one was. No, it didn't like, I'm not like chewing like a cherry tomato. It wasn't like that. It was flat. I'm sorry.
Weird.
Yeah, wincing here.
Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe I had him at a weird place. I don't know. It was like a place, by the side of the road kind of thing. My husband and I had a Jeep. We were going from Denver to Crested Butte. Very beautiful, through the Great Divide, all that stuff. It was a lovely road trip.
EJ, you've actually seen these Rocky Mountain oysters?
I love Food Network, so that's always the Joker card in Chopped. It's like, you got to make stuff, and they give you like 4 normal ingredients, and then the last thing is Rocky Mountain oysters.
Yeah, right.
And there's always one chef that's like, I don't know what this is, and that's always the running joke, like, they don't know what it is, and they're trying to prepare it.
Yeah, it's like alligator toenails, Rocky Mountain oysters. Yeah.
Here you are. Yeah. We're going to give you cinnamon and scallions. And here is a bull testicle.
It's like, and a baby's dirty diaper. Good luck, everybody. Hell of a show. I'm sorry.
I'm super fan of Chopped. I think we can all agree on that.
If
one of those chefs is preparing my Rocky Mountain oyster, now I would like to see them make tuna jello.
I'm like, what is this thing? I've never heard of it. And I'm like a religious Chopped watcher. And I'm like, I feel like I've seen every food now up above the sun. I never heard of this gelatin fish that comes from Minnesota, apparently.
I know. Perloff showed me a picture of it. It looks like kitty litter on top.
Oh, it does look like cat
bad.
food. It looks so much like cat food.
Ugh.
I'm telling you, Jokic better get off his ass. This is going to be bad for me. Hit a shot, dude. Jamal
Murray's got a blood spinner. You're dead. And maybe he will.
Can he get some kind of transplant? Ankle transplant? What's wrong with him? Knee?
It's a calf issue.
Great. His Achilles going to go next.
2-0 is not a death sentence in an NBA series anymore.
Yeah, when it's 2-0 the home team. When is it 2-0 the road team is down?
Hey, when the
He's
Bucks,
up 0-2, I mean.
Did the Suns jump out 2-0 against the Bucks?
Yeah, they were at home, though.
Oh, darn it.
I know. I'm not going to be saved here. 855-212-4227. So that's a little what's going on with our show. A little update for you. Perloff going to be driving to San Antonio. I'm likely going to be eating some kind of tuna jelly. Ugh. If you want to watch the show, now's probably a good time to drop that. YouTube.com/InfinitySportsNet, Twitch.tv/InfinitySportsNetwork. If you ever miss part of the show, the Maggie and Perloff podcast is chef kiss. You guys do a great job editing that every single day. If you leave us a 5-star review, we would be so, so grateful. Coming up, we check in on the man causing all kinds of problems in college football, the agitator. We'll do that next. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break.
And your Bogusch high on display. Road trip blues won't go away. Left behind, feeling bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio. No excuse. Can't believe his eyes, what a sight. While Bogusch stays home, feeling so uptight. Betting against WEMBY. Perloff took the fall, but it's Bogusch left behind. Feeling small, a loser in his own right. Can't catch a break, road trip dreams shattered, for goodness sake. Counting minutes, ticking like a clock, while Perloff cruises highways, laughter in stock. And your Bogusch high on display. Road trip blues won't go away. Left behind, feeling bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio, no excuse. Can't believe his eyes, what a sight. While Bogusch stays home, feeling so uptight. Betting against WEMBY. Perloff took the fall, but it's Bogusch left behind. Feeling small, a loser in his own right. Can't catch a break, road trip dreams shattered for goodness sake. Counting minutes, ticking like a clock, while Perloff cruises highways, laughter in stock.
2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
The road trip blues, Bogusch waves. He's got the road trip blues left behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio, can't believe his eyes. But Bogusch stuck at home, his heartache amplifies. Betting against WEMBY. Perloff took the fall, but it's Bogusch left behind. Feeling 10 feet tall, a loser in his own right. Can't catch a break, road trip dream shattered. For goodness sake, for goodness sake, Bogusch cruising highways, he'll never be atop San Antonio shining. The city's calling their names, the Bogusch sitting home, stuck playing life's cruel games. Bogusch waves.
45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Daily. Do you believe that? Deion. You believe that?
You notice there's a Colorado theme going on here today, Maggie and Perloff show, talking about the Nuggets, talking about Rocky Mountain oysters.
Yep.
I don't see Deion eating any of that stuff.
I don't know. It is a local delicacy. We do check in on Deion Sanders all the time, and this is a new one. Last week, we brought you the social media beef where Deion kind of got in the fray with a bunch of kids, young men, call it what it is, with a couple tweets. One sort of clapping back at a kid who goes to Austin P. And saying to a tweet of his stats, Lord Jesus, you know, like how bad this kid was to be talking any kind of smack back and forth with some of the Colorado players. And then someone on social media also told Deion, I got to get the quote here. Forgive me 1 second. He said, someone said, and this is a random person with 300 followers on social media, tell your son, stop act like he the coldest out here, then put up a 4-8 season. To which Deion responded with his 1.8 million followers, he'll be a top 5 pick. Where's your son going? LOLOL. I got time today. LOLOL. Okay, so why was Deion clapping back at random people on social media? You'd think that he should be above that as a coach. Well, apparently he was just bored.
And sometimes I'm having fun. Like, I was bored yesterday. I'm in the Big 12. I'm bored. Like, hey, man, come on. Y'all want to do this? Let's do this. You want to do this? Y'all really want to? I can't go with my mind and go at them with my mind, because my mind is a killer. Like, my mind is going to hurt. It's going to hurt. It's going to make you bleed. It's going to make you think about this thing after this is over. And I can't do that.
More from Deion.
I was bored. I was bored, and I didn't say nothing hurtful. I don't attack people. In the misconception, when I played, I never talked, Dalvin. I never talked on the field. I never said nothing to my opponent. I had too much respect. So I have respect here and now as well. But every once in a while, I want to play, and then I get petty.
It's that kind of discipline that I think you want out of your head coach. I was a little bored today, so I'm going to go clapping back at random people on Twitter.
I get that, getting bored and saying something controversial on Twitter. I think most human beings have done that. Like, you're like, well, I might as well throw this out here. What do I have to lose? It's just Twitter. So at least can you give him, I give him leeway on this. I get it. I just relate to him. Yeah, he's bored. He's messing around. Like, he obviously, I don't think that Twitter beef was anything so corrosive that Deion was doing.
No, it's not, but you're bored. Read a book. I mean, it's like it has a film.
Oh, come on. Nobody does that. You're holding Deion to a higher standard than every other single American who's on their phone just screwing around on social media.
No, holding him.
Let's do this. You want to do this?
I'm holding him to a standard, just any type of standard. This is not becoming of a head coach. If you're bored, here's like that comment too is going to come around to bite him, because if they're getting their butt kicked this year by someone in the Big 12, it's going to be like, well, maybe you should have been studying film instead of being so bored.
Yeah,
you
right.
have 100,000 things to do as the head coach of a football team. You really shouldn't have time to be messing around, being bored on social.
Oh, come on. I feel like you're
so silly.
You're just being way too like idealist or something about who Deion is.
Maybe.
I gotta relate. I mean, Deion is actually honestly said he's not really a watch film X and O's kind of coach. Unless I
want to learn. Listen, Deion knows more football than all of us.
He's a CEO of that team. He's not. He's you have 8 former NFL coaches on your sideline. Those are the guys watching tape and doing X's and O's, not Deion.
No, I get it. I just
if you're
there's
a player,
been a couple
don't you
weird defenses. I'm sorry.
Don't you relate to some of that as a player? Like, do you really think this kills Deion with the players he's trying to appeal to? They get it. I think his cockiness is part of the appeal.
Yeah, but there's something about when Lane Kiffin does stuff like this, and he'll kind of go back on Twitter, and Lane comes off as looking very immature. And we call him that, and we say that because it is immature. And we kind of expect this sort of immaturity from Lane Kiffin. He sort of gets by on that. But he does get called out on it.
But we also, it's in a similar way, give Lane a pass. You're like, there goes old Lane Kiffin doing Lane Kiffin things. Like we've accepted that is part of the Lane Kiffin experience. Yeah, it's not perfect. I understand. Same with Deion.
Exactly. But again, it's like, what standard are we holding ourselves to here? And so for Deion, I think there's got to be a higher one. Anyway, that's your daily Deion. And you mentioned about Colorado's kind of become a theme of the show, talking about the Nuggets being down 0-2. If they lose this series, I have to eat this weird Jell-O tuna fish combination. We talked about Rocky Mountain oysters. If somehow the Nuggets come back and win this series, you have to eat Rocky Mountain oysters. A lot of Colorado theme. This excuse from Deion, the I was bored excuse, harkens back a little to Sean Payton, head coach of the Denver Broncos, with the latte defense of why he took out Nathaniel Hackett in an interview with USA Today was because he was too caffeinated.
It works better for college football. I didn't love the Sean Payton thing. If you're the head coach, if Deion ever became an NFL head coach, he couldn't probably do this.
Well, remember, let's keep in mind, this is the same man that dumped water on Tim McCarver after they won the NLCS again as a Brave against the Pirates in '92.
That was 125 years ago, Pete.
But no, that's how he is. That's his personality.
It's true.
Yeah.
Do you also believe, Deion, that he never talked trash to his opponents?
I don't believe
that.
Wait, he said that? That's what he
Yeah.
said in the clip. He is high stepping into the end zone. I mean, that's essentially, it's like, that's not verbal trash. That's like your actions, like whatever.
Maggie, you don't understand. This man's brain is dangerous. I think we're overlooking that, actually. It's like, my brain is dangerous. If I want to cut you with it, I will cut you. I don't even know what he meant by that.
Me neither.
Probably if he just let loose and said what he really thought, it would be quite hurtful. I do agree with, like, it was that, what's your son doing, LOL. The guy is also a sports dad. And look at LeBron. Like, you get crazy when you're a sports dad. You see it. We'll go to a Little League game, and you'll see lots of crazy sports parents.
Yeah,
So
they don't all coach Colorado and have a gold jacket for being the inner circle.
What happened to everybody thought Deion was refreshing last year, and now because he lost, he went 4-8. Everyone is jumping on it. If he was 11-1, nobody would be saying any of this.
No,
it'd be cute.
That's the
tacky.
right. That's
It's
the
tacky,
problem.
that's
They're
why.
losing. Like we keep saying, well, if he was 11-1, nobody would have a problem. Well, yeah, that's the problem. They're not winning. So if Deion wanted to do this, then if you have some wins to back it up, then you can say, look, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm doing this. Kids are loving it. I got celebrities coming to these games, and we're winning. So what's the problem? The problem is you talked all this smack, you raised your profile, and then when everybody was ready to see how this was going to go down the stretch, you didn't win a game. You lost like 8 games in a row. Like that's something that he's got to live with as well. And it can't be anybody says you're 4-8. It's, well, let me clap back and see what is your son doing.
Yeah, right.
Who cares about what some guy with 300 followers' son is doing? We're talking about you.
It's true. EJ has a point. There's something in sports, the unwritten rule, that the victor gets to talk the smack. And if you don't, even if you're Deion, it falls flat and it looks silly.
I don't know. That sounds like really bad. So if you win, you can talk trash to anybody. It's tasteless when you're losing, but it's cool when you're winning. That feels unfair.
I think that you just reveal who you are in these moments. And so, for Deion, getting into it on social media and then explaining away his actions that he was bored. It's just really silly.
Again, we all relate. At least it was honest. That is one thing. Deion is the only honest college coach of either basketball or football. That is the profession where you lie for a living. That dude is at least telling the truth. I mean, that's something.
Was he honest?
Yeah, he
said
was
he never talked trash.
Well, that part was ridiculous. But you don't think he was just bored sitting on his phone?
That sentence was a lie.
Was
the next sentence
was he bored on his phone? Maybe. Are the people saying, hey, dude, you're not winning enough to be doing all this talking? Is that bothering him? Yes. I don't think that it was just, I'm bored, so let me just take some random shot at a guy with 300 followers.
I don't know if it bothered him as much as you think.
This is a guy who, when he won one game, said, do you believe now? If you don't believe, then I'm not answering your questions.
Yeah, I think Deion...
He keeps receipts. He literally says that himself.
But I don't think he's as bothered as you might think. The guy sort of seems to move on. He never loses any of his confidence.
Well,
that's his thing.
And he plays the media game very, very well. We know that. So that's a little what's going on with Deion Sanders. Andrew Bogusch has the rest of the sports world for us.
Guys, last night the Nuggets were only good at avoiding technical fouls. Head coach Michael Malone went nose-to-nose on an official. Jamal Murray threw a heating pad on the court over a non-call, and neither got teed up. The ref said postgame they didn't know where that pad came from, as if a fan brought it into the arena to stay loose in their seat.
But someone had an orthopedic back pillow and
honestly,
threw it
if
onto
they
the
threw
court.
a fan in that game, they probably would have played a little better than the Nuggets last night.
Is that's really true? That's what the ref said? They didn't know where it came from? You got 500 cameras in the building?
Yeah.
Do 100 replays on whether somebody slipped a screen and they can't figure out who threw a heating pad?
They didn't know where it came from. Had they thought, and the T-Wolves apparently said to them, what I just said, why wouldn't it have come from the bench? Like, obviously it came from the bench, but had they thought it came from the bench, then they could have reviewed it and they would have given Murray a tech. But because they were not clearly and definitive that it came from the bench, they couldn't review it, and then nothing happened.
Those crazy Nuggets fans always throwing heating pads out onto the court. If that happens one more time, I swear.
You need heating pads to deal with the high altitude, right? That's every Coloradoan knows that.
If this is Miami with a lot of old people in the crowd, I could buy it a lot easier. But Denver, I don't see that happening.
If it was like a joint or something, you can't even really make that joke about Colorado because weed's legal everywhere now. But that'd be something I would actually be like, there's just so much here. Throwing it out on the floor.
Yeah, they were all pissed because of this.
Off to MPJ, 38 seconds left. Jokic wants it up top. Nas all over him. Hand off to MPJ. Oh, he ran right into Mike, who took the ball away. Feeds it up to Ant. Breakaway. Showtime dunk for Anthony Edwards.
Alan Horton on T-Wolves Radio. Minnesota using a 43-18 run to lead by 26 at the half. They won by 26, 106-80 for a 2-game sweep in Denver. Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns each scored 27. Malone on where it went wrong for his club.
Their physicality, our ability to get into our offense, get a shot off. We played in late clock situations all night long. So, yes, you have to give credit to them, but, we didn't own our spots.
All the drama last night came from the Knicks-Pacers opener at MSG. Indy led by 9 early in the fourth. Jalen Brunson scored 21 in that final period. The refs made some dumb decisions, and the Knicks won 121-117. Brunson had 43 in his 4th consecutive 40-point effort.
Yeah, the 40 points are cool and all, but it's the little things that help us win games like that. And so I'm just happy to have the group of guys that I do, and I just know that we're going to fight every single day.
Brunson also had 6 rebounds and 6 assists in 44 minutes. Dante DiVincenzo scored 25 in 44, and Josh Hart had 24, 13 rebounds, 8 assists, playing all 48 minutes.
Now, I know Perloff has to drive down to San Antonio to apologize to Victor Wembanyama. I don't know where the hell Grant Hill is, but can he drive to 33rd Street and 7th Avenue and put up a sign saying, I apologize to Jalen Brunson for not putting him on Team USA?
Oh, Tyrese Halliburton he had a great All-Star weekend.
And a great in-season tournament,
the
too.
in-season tournament is where he turned everyone's heads.
I've never seen a man drip fear more than Tyrese Halliburton last night. I mean, he was terrified of the moment.
What voice was he using in the postgame? Was it the voice 1 or voice 2? This guy's got a weird two voices situation.
Did Jalen Brunson do some sort of movie deal with the devil? How is he playing like it? I mean, this is one of the biggest statistical anomalies we've ever seen. He's got 4 40-point games in a row. The dude didn't average 40 points a game. Something's going on here. Is he that good, EJ?
No, he's left-handed.
I mean, he is lefty.
And he's playing with Nova Knicks. That helps him, too.
But he didn't score 40 points a game during the season. Now, coaches have a whole series to adjust and make a game plan for him, and they have nothing. Nobody has anything.
Well, when Randall went out, his scoring picked up, and he was averaging about 30 the last month of the season, month and a half of the season. So he's been scoring at a higher clip, and now with the playoffs, he's playing even more minutes, so he's getting more shots, and his efficiency's not dropping, which is crazy. Usually you take this many shots, at some point your efficiency drops. It's not happening with him. He's a killer.
Well, Daly's in the chat. He's got a suggestion. YouTube.com/InfinitySportsNet, Twitch.tv/InfinitySportsNetwork. Brunson, pump fake, pivot, and ability to always have his body between the ball and the defender.
Amazing. Can they get him on the? Let's talk for real. I think there's often an injury or something. He'll get on the Olympic team, right? Kawhi will go down.
Why Kawhi? Joel Embiid is really going to be on the Olympic team, and he's hobbling up and down the court. That would be so silly.
It is in Paris. I mean,
who cares?
I just think it's super fun to go to Paris. I think all these guys are going to show up. It's not Tokyo. You could get there really quickly.
I love it. This is my favorite thing about this. These guys have made $300 million in their career. It's like, ooh, free trip to Paris.
Yeah,
like, they're gajillionaires. They could buy Paris. I mean, this is so silly. They could go anytime they want in the offseason.
Yeah, but you're not going to be able to go to dinner with 8 other superstar players and get free French wine. Are you kidding me? This seems like the trip of a lifetime.
Free French wine. You have to be the cheapest person on earth to be like, you know what? I'm going to take a roster spot from somebody else, and we might not win a gold medal because I want some free Beaujolais.
Oh, come on.
You should have your citizenship revoked.
Have you ever... Pro athletes would honestly, they would box you out for a $5 little gadget. They love free stuff more than any group of humans on the planet.
I've heard Michael Jordan is like the cheapest person ever. I get
and they
it.
all are. They all want free stuff. They never want to pay for anything. And honestly,
Boomer pays for tons of stuff. I think Boomer Esiason, who works down the hall. He's a former athlete who is very generous.
Maybe former athletes, current athletes don't want to pay for anything. That is
also
this is Boomer Esiason
because they know. And trust me, Nike and Adidas are making sure, and New Balance for Kawhi Leonard, they're making sure those guys make it to Paris.
Also, the fashion and
that's
all the style, like it's going to be like a 4-week Met Ball in Paris.
Again, they're multi-millionaires.
Yeah,
the Paris fashion doesn't leave once the Olympics is gone.
But this is the big party. Nobody wants to miss this. This is like the white party for 3 weeks at the Olympics. You can't miss the Paris Olympics. Honestly, I think it's going to be hard. I'll bet you everyone shows up.
And I got to be honest. I've been lucky enough to cover 2 Olympics, and I was a very low person on the totem pole, so I will admit that. I was a production assistant working my way up to what I hoped my dream job was going to be, which is sitting right here with you guys. But you know what? It's traffic. It's long days.
Yeah.
The basketball teams are staying away from everybody else, or at least they were in the 2 Olympics that I was covering. It's kind of just like they're not even going to be in Paris for the first part of the tournament. They're out in some suburb somewhere. The Olympics is great, but it's a great TV product. When you're actually there, it's cool, but it's hard to get around.
France, Maggie, come on. I know you were in Greece, right? Which is also pretty awesome. I think everybody showed up for that Greece Olympics.
They were staying on a boat. They couldn't even stay on land because
my God,
the security issues were very tight at the time. But I'll tell you what happened at that Greece Olympics. Your girl just putting on LBs. Pounds, everybody. I couldn't stop eating.
I thought
Greece
that was Mediterranean
so
food was healthy.
Yeah, not when you eat the volume of it that I was putting down.
I think.
Well, Paris ain't going to help us either.
No.
Then, I guess.
Food in
It's
Paris.
not light fare over there.
You're telling me if you're Kawhi Leonard, you would sit this out? I mean, who knows what Kawhi does on his free time? You got to go. I'm telling you, got to go to this Paris Olympics. And DJ's right. The shoe brands run the sport. They are going to have no interest in Kawhi. Kawhi and Jack Harlow are going to be speaking French in a commercial in about 4 weeks from now.
Oh, God. Spare us.
Oh, Jack Harlow is awesome in all those ads. Pretty good little game there in the pickup game on the commercial.
I'm sure that was true life. Bogusch, we left you no time. We'll punt everything else until next hour. Thank you so much. Coming up, we head to the NFL. The person feeling the most pressure heading into next season, we've got that for you. Who is this person? Give that to you next. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Treasure sea, lost in the waves on a treasure sea. Andrew Perloff, trying to find his way back home. San Antonio nights, but the stars don't guide. A bet gone wrong, predicting WEMBY's demise. Bogusch, the loser left alone, crying in defeat. He's on his own. Perloff, what a perilous fate. A journey of failure that he cannot evade. Lost in the waves on a treacherous sea, Andrew Perloff trying to find his way back home. San Antonio nights, but the stars don't guide. A bet gone wrong, predicting WEMBY's demise. Andrew Bogusch, the loser left alone, crying in defeat, tears on his own. Perloff, what a perilous fate. A journey of failure that he cannot evade. Perilous journey, lost in the sea. Andrew Perloff, drowning
behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio, can't believe his eyes. But Bogusch stuck at home, his heartache amplifies. Betting against WEMBY, Perloff took the fall, but it's Bogusch left behind, feeling 10 feet tall. A loser in his own right, can't catch a break. Road trip dreams shattered, for goodness sake.
Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. I'm talking a lot of basketball. Let's get to the NFL. Certain people who are feeling pressure or no pressure heading into this season. EJ is going to throw it out. We got 30 seconds on the clock. Let's get it going.
All right, let's begin with the guy we saw a lot over the weekend. He was at Tom Brady's roast. How about Robert Kraft? He got rid of Bill Belichick, and now he's going to run the show.
No pressure. He is on a celebration tour of his wonderful career, trying to get in the Hall of Fame. I don't think he's going for another Super Bowl. I think he's happy to celebrate the ones he's won.
I'm actually going to agree with Perloff here. I think in no pressure, the Hall of Fame is the thing for Robert Kraft, right?
Yeah.
Getting another Super Bowl ring, or they talk a lot about this. It's actually Stevens, or what's his son's name? Jonathan. Jonathan Kraft.
You can find him with Stephen Jones.
Jonathan Kraft, whoever, the next guy. I think it's more on the son now, and I think Robert Kraft's like in his 80s. I mean, even Julian Edelman had a joke at the roast. This is probably the next time we're all going to be together is at Robert Kraft's funeral. It's kind of a tasteless joke.
I shout out Julian Edelman's bit. That's horrible.
Anyway, I'm going no pressure. What else you got, EJ?
All right, let's go to Aaron Rodgers, who didn't play at all last year. What about pressure, no pressure this year?
Tons of pressure on Aaron Rodgers. Tons. On Aaron Rodgers, on the Jets, on Robert Saleh, on Joe Douglas, on EJ, on Bilotti, on the Jets fans. You guys have to be feeling this hard because season 1 with Rodgers got totally derailed. He made this big show about trying to come back. You need peak Rodgers.
Tons of pressure to do what? Like, what do you mean exactly? Like, to play well?
Win a Super Bowl.
Win a Super Bowl?
Yes.
No. First of all, Aaron Rodgers showed last year he can be in the headlines whether he wins or not. I think the expectations are much lower this year after last year. I think they'd be happy with just a healthy season. So I don't think the pressure is as bad as you do. And also, I think he's got a 2-year window.
What does that sound?
It's a magic sound effect.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
It's every 30 seconds. We're trying to move this segment along.
I love it. Wave your magic wand and we move on to a new person.
Exactly. Call me Copperfield. Okay, let's go to L.A. Jim Harbaugh, new head coach. Some expectations over there. Pressure, no pressure.
I'll go this one. Again, I'm going no pressure. Did you guys notice he was at the roast, by the way?
Yes, I saw it.
He didn't say anything that I saw. So here's the thing. They are definitely a little bereft of talent. They have no wide receivers. They drafted some, but I think that he has brilliantly set up a situation with lower expectations that he could easily exceed. I feel like Jim Harbaugh is kind of said to his fan base, I got a few years here to build this. I'm going to do it my way. So that means the pressure is a little bit off year 1.
Tons of pressure on Jim Harbaugh because he's the type of coach who you hire to turn things around quickly, and people are going to continually point out to him not many coaches get to walk into a Justin Herbert situation. You have this great quarterback. Everyone's just waiting for you to make them even better. You've got to show something right away. Tons of pressure. Also, one other thing about Harbaugh, you never know how long you're going to have him for.
Good thing there's no Chargers fans. So.
Oh, man.
All right, let's go to a place where they do have a lot of fans. Chicago, new rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. Pressure, no pressure?
I think there's pressure here. I mentioned Jim Harbaugh doesn't. You usually don't come into a situation where you have a Justin Herbert. As the number 1 overall pick, you rarely go into a situation where you have a team that can actually win some games. 7 wins last year. I know the division is tougher, but it's not impossible to maybe think you're going to be vying for a wild card spot. Definitely pressure on Caleb.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that one because he's quote unquote the generational guy. Probably an unfair label, but it reminds me so much of Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. There was pressure to succeed immediately. We all expected. The funny thing is, I think we'd all be really surprised if Caleb Williams wasn't good, and that's why there's pressure.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, you got 5 other quarterbacks in the first round. How are they going to all do? And they're all going to be measured against each other.
That is true. We got one more here. Let's go to Cleveland. Deshaun Watson coming back from injury. Pressure, no pressure?
Oh, my God. There's so much pressure here. He doesn't have to win. He has to get on the field. They invested more in this, and they, there's so many more years left on this. I think it's 2 more. He's got hundreds of $1 million. They can never get out of it because the structure of this contract, the dead cap would be huge. So he's got to play, and he's got to be better than Joe Flacco was last year. I think this is one of the biggest pressure situations in the entire league.
Funny, you're right, but I'm going to say no pressure because I think that a lot of people have chalked this up already to maybe some kind of failure. What do you have? You have you have 1/2 of one game where he looked really good before he got hurt again. The guy's always getting hurt. And the actions speak louder than words here, guys. The Cleveland Browns brought in 2 backup quarterbacks to back him up. They brought in Jameis Winston and Snoop Huntley, and you got DTR, and everyone under the sun is in that quarterback room. They don't even have a lot of faith in him. You can tell probably because of the injury. I mean, injuries, I think this thing has already failed. This might be another LOL Cleveland thing, and it's really a testament to Cleveland that their team is good enough to make them so formidable. That was a defense-first team.
I understand what you're saying, but do you really think nobody's going to rip Deshaun Watson and the Browns if he's not out there? I think it's going to be brutal.
They've already been ripping him.
You could rip them when they were last year because they were good.
They're a good team that, they were a good team. So you can't rip them as a team, but the Deshaun Watson decision was always flawed from the beginning. Giving him all that money seemed like it was, he was just going to have to play so well to make that pay off, not just on the, off the field stuff, but then also on the field to give him the highest guaranteed contract of all time. He was going to have to live up to that with a Super Bowl to make it work. And they're so far from that with Watson.
But the reality is they were not alone wanting to throw money at Deshaun Watson. They needed to pay that extra premium to get him to go to Cleveland because this is a franchise that's been wandering in quarterback purgatory for a long time.
And they still are.
Yeah, they still are. Yeah, did not. It's funny. They've actually won a surprising amount of games, and they built this talented team around them.
Thanks to Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward and those guys.
I mean, they had, I think, the best running back in the league last year, Nick Chubb, and he went down as well.
Yep.
They've had injuries everywhere. Stefanski's a really good regular season coach, so it'll be interesting. I would like to see the Browns be relevant. I mean, this is a franchise. I think it's good for the NFL. Now, Deshaun Watson is obviously very complicated. I think a lot of people have other problems with them. But it would be interesting because they have so much talent there. What if all of a sudden they put it together and made some noise in the AFC? It's overdue to have a real legit Cleveland title team. And I agree with you, though. It's going to be tough.
Well, I like what you're saying there about the Browns. It's it's fun for the NFL when the Browns are good. It's been so long, and it's great to watch them when they're succeeding. But I think the Deshaun Watson era comes and goes. And I think if this past season, if this quarterback class had been different and there was any kind of middle class of quarterbacks where all you had was first rounders and then Spencer Rattler gets taken in the 3rd round, if there had been some kind of more of a middle class of quarterbacks, I wouldn't have been surprised if the Browns tried to take another quarterback and try to get the succession plan for Deshaun Watson started. It wasn't the right draft for that.
Well, I mean, they're stuck with him, though. He's still there for 2 more years, no matter what happens.
Okay, but you have, Michael Penix might sit behind Kirk Cousins for 2 years, really expensive, and you love that move. So, you could have started the clock on a new guy. Anyway, coming up, someone's taking aim at their own player. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
If you are a fan of the Indiana Pacers, how do you even get up and go to work today? I'd call in sick. I really would. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. You have to be incensed. This was a game that you could have and probably should have won on the road in a raucous Madison Square Garden, Perloff. And the refs just straight up screwed the Indiana Pacers. 2 bad calls at the end of the game. Now, credit to the Knicks. They hit all their free throws. They really made Indiana pay. But they shouldn't have even really been in that situation because the refs were literally taking points off the board for Indianapolis.
Yes, all true. I hated the call, but I will tell you, though, that loss is on them. They refused to change up their strategy on Jalen Brunson when he was just scoring. Rick Carlisle did absolutely nothing until the last minute. He finally sent a trap at him. They
caused a turnover.
They better do some work.
Yeah.
They really better get to work on this one because they have this series sitting there for them because I think the Knicks are a little shorthanded and the Pacers were up late in the fourth quarter. They really will have no one to blame but themselves. So I don't blame the officials for this. I actually blame the team.
Wow. I mean, the kick ball that wasn't a kick ball that took away a turnover that could have been for Indiana. You had the Miles Turner called for a moving screen, something they have not called in such a long time. And you can't call that at that moment. It was just...
Oh, it was terrible.
It was just the refs are ruining this. They really are, because even if you don't want to complain about them and seem like a sore loser, you can't help it because it's so obvious. And not just that, and like a bad call here or there, as awful as that is, it's the tone. Do you want to play prison rules or do you want to play NBA rules? Because I have no idea. And I get it that the scoring was out of control and guys were flopping all over the place and they were trying to draw these BS calls and go to the free throw line 30 times like James Harden. No one wanted to watch that. But this, you can knock somebody over, just straight up forearm shiver in their chest, and it's nothing. You can throw a heating pad onto the floor like Jamal Murray did in the nightcap game, and they're like, well, we can't call it technical because we didn't know where it came from. Well, did you think it came from the 10th row from someone sitting there?
I mean, this says something to me. Jamal Murray is Canadian, and you know how nice Canadian people are. To get Jamal Murray to the point where he has to throw a heating pad onto the floor, the officiating had to be so bad. And there was a real point where Mike Malone had to be held back.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God,
he should have got an attack.
I mean, he should. If they didn't hold him back, he was going to attack the official.
He came across the court to get in the official's face. And I love on the broadcast, they're like, man, that's a veteran officiating move there to not take the bait. It's like, he charged at you. You could have at least teed him up.
Yeah, no, it did lose control, and then the heating pad.
The heating pad.
And that being said,
Who throws a shoe? I mean, it's like it felt like that.
And you could still sort of empathize with Denver because they were letting Minnesota's defense, just a wall of defenders come at them and be as physical as they wanted to be. Mm-hmm. So that style clearly helps Minnesota. Like Denver needs some calls in Game 3.
855-212-4227. So that's a little mini recap of what happened last night. Pacers and Knicks were locked in this crazy battle, came down to the final seconds. Couple calls that did not go the Pacers' way and did go the Knicks' way, and the Knicks closed out the game. They take a 1-0 series lead, and then in the nightcap, total blowout. Just total blowout. Minnesota, even without Rudy Gobert, who was missing the game for the birth of his first child, they put on a defensive clinic without the 3-time defensive player of the year. And it's a credit to Anthony Edwards, and it's a credit to that whole team that they held Denver, the reigning champs, to 80 points. And so if you're keeping score, which is why we play sports to begin with, Denver is now down 0-2, and they lost both games at home where they're supposed to have this all-time home court advantage because of the altitude.
Yeah, our former boss, Spike Eskin, had a funny tweet. He said that they need to raise the arena even higher to get more altitude advantage because I think the NBA is catching up to Denver on that. By the way, that funny thing about that altitude advantage is it never worked for 50 years, and all of a sudden last year they used the altitude to win a title. Well, what about all the years? Anyway,
Salt Lake City, also very high altitude.
Yeah, it was amazing to me. Are we going to ask a question about the T-Wolves? Are they better without Gobert on the court? I'm ready to go there.
You know, that's one question, I guess. I don't know if that's where I jump. I think I'm jumping at if they win this series, they're winning the title. I think there's something about not just this matchup and it's good, an emergence of the Timberwolves, doing it on both ends of the floor in terms of how they're locked in on defense. and not to mention the offensive side. And I think you defeat the boogeyman. Like, there is something about the Nuggets where they've become like, oh my God, Jokic, he's a machine. He doesn't even care about basketball, and look how good he is. And there's something that felt sort of inevitable about the Nuggets, and now that veneer has totally gone. I
agree, except for one thing. Like, if the officials start calling their defense tighter, like Jaden McDaniels and guys like that, then it's going to be much harder to defend like that. Say they get Boston in the finals, and Jason Tatum gets by Jaden McDaniels or one of those guys, and they get to the line 15 times.
I just don't think the NBA wants that. I think the directive has already come down from Adam Silver.
Yeah, and the thing is, they don't know what they want. That's the problem. They're not very clear. They're going to call a tiny moving screen and let you just elbow a guy in the head. It's not working.
Yeah, I know. And listen, we have how many officiating controversies a week in the NFL? This is like taking it to a new level because you can have one or two bad calls in football and a game could maybe swing. This is like a theme. This is like how you want the whole game to go. Just allowing all this contact, I don't know. You're right. They don't know how they want it to be officiated, and it's a big problem, and it's kind of ruining the playoffs a little.
You know, I did a Deion last night.
What'd you do?
On Twitter, I put out a tweet saying, oh, of course the NBA is going to give the Knicks this call because they lost LeBron and Steph. They want New York in the finals. I was totally joking. I do not think the NBA wants New York in the finals because they're going against either Minnesota, Denver, or OKC. Like they obviously, the NBA famously does not play to big markets. Can we make that clear? There's no, but you're a big conspiracy theory. Yeah. Do you think there's ever an initiative to help a certain team? Because I personally do not, but I do think people went there last night and said, "Oh, of course you're helping the Knicks." What I think happened was it's hard in a home arena. I think officials get subconsciously swayed by the crowd. I think that's what might have happened.
Oh, I think they get intimidated by the crowd, but they were also like, they send the reviews to a neutral third party. Like, they've kind of taken some of this out of the officials' hands, right? It's like, this plays under review, and that's not the guys on the court who are doing it. That goes back to some replay room, right? And they still get it wrong.
But they can't review that many plays. Like, they couldn't review so eventually the officials. But anyway, so we're not doing.
As far as
we're not doing the conspiracy theory, right? Like that's not a thing. Does anybody really think that's a thing that the NBA is actually helping out particular markets?
So I don't think it's actually about markets. If I were to put my tinfoil hat on and stuff, I think it's about storylines and it's about stars. It's right. Do you want the best? What's the best matchup? And they can't obviously predetermine this, but do the whistles maybe go one way or another? Like who you saw? Like, listen. The Timberwolves need no help right now. They're killing the Nuggets. They've beaten them handedly the first two games. But did you also see there's like a new commercial that just came out that's like an Anthony Edwards hype commercial? Like, they got that turned around real fast. And it's basically a bunch of his highlights along with other players from press conferences talking about how great he is. So I'm not saying he needs help. He doesn't. Yeah. But I think that the NBA knows that they're a league built on stars and they want star matchups.
And there's the stars get the calls.
Totally.
That's the way it's always been. Still in this playoffs, you see it. I mean, I just worry. You love this team right now. What if they get in the finals and they start giving Tatum the call? Then I think that I would still go Boston, but I love this Minnesota team.
See, there's a part of Minnesota, though, that I kind of, and I don't know if this will change if they go deeper into a series, you get into a 6th game and a 7th game, or you get to the finals where experience starts to matter. I kind of like right now the Timberwolves are sort of this blank slate. Like, I know last year they got into the postseason, right? They were in the play-in, but I like that they don't have the baggage. You know, the Celtics have some baggage about big losses and falling short and pressure and should Tatum have won already and all that stuff. Joe Mazzulla, I don't think that the Timberwolves are feeling that pressure. They get to play sort of free and get to be bullies a little bit with, you know, and have no consequence. They don't have the scar tissue like the Celtics do.
Yeah, I agree. But again, I think we might be overreacting a little. Like, is Naz Reid going to get hot from 3 consistently? He wasn't really hot from 3 in the last round. Now he actually kind of missed a bunch of shots in the second half, but he's been red hot. There's just a lot of is Karl Anthony Towns consistently going to hit step back threes over guys? I know he's a great outside shooter, but last night with Gobert there, he's like, oh my God, I'm going to go off. He just seems so much more confident without Gobert being there. I don't know. I'm just saying, don't overreact too much to last night's game. I know it was a blowout of the Nuggets, but there's a lot of playoffs left. And I love this T-Wolves team.
No, there's a lot of playoffs left, but think about it. How many times does a team go down 0-2 on their own floor? especially as the defending champs. I mean, alarm bells have to be sounding here for Denver. I mean, you have to get scared here. This is as backed into a corner as you can possibly be.
No. With Jamal Murray not 100%, Denver feels hopeless right now. And you could see he cannot operate offensively like he usually does. 3 for 18? He never goes 3 for 18.
Man, and this is personally a little bad for me. I made a bet with Perloff yesterday that I thought the Nuggets were going to come back in a big way. They did not. I have a bet with Perloff that I thought the Nuggets were going to win the series. That's looking pretty bleak. And if the Timberwolves do beat the Nuggets, that I have to eat this lime jello tuna fish concoction that Perloff just sent me a picture of. No one said anything about green olives also being in this lime jello mold.
Yes.
Where did you find this, you devious villain?
I was looking for Minnesota foods, and I found this thing called lutefisk, which is a gelatinous fish dish, which I told you about, which made you super sick. But then I found out that there are people in Minnesota, and probably all over the world, who combine lime jello and a can of tuna fish with vegetables.
Is this like from the 50s or something? Did people is this a Great Depression era thing?
Oh, yeah.
The 20s?
30s? I'm looking at the picture now. It looks like cat food.
This is green olives. Is that bad? It's green olives. What's the yellow thing in here? It looks like mango slices. That can't be. Celery? Sure. There's celery in here and then tuna fish on top.
Okay. Lime jello, canned tuna, hard-boiled eggs. How do you feel about that?
Oh, not great.
Dill pickles. Ooh, jeez Louise. And celery. Celery is the most neutral ingredient in there.
Yeah, you know when you're eating Jell-O, you also want to balance it out with a crunch.
I think the real problem is the opening, the image of you watching a can of tuna being open and mixing it in with lime Jell-O. I think not only do you have to eat it, you have to be there during the processing part of this dish.
Oh,
looks easy to make.
How dare you? I wish I could channel that. YouTube.com/Infinity Sports Network. Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. How dare you? If you want to bookmark that.
Lutefisk is whitefish that is salted, dried, and soaked in lye for days, and then reconstituted into a sloppy, gelatinous fish pudding. Gosh, they know how to party in Minnesota. These people must be so hammered to eat this food. I mean, how high would you have to be to enjoy lime jello tuna pudding?
There is not an amount of marijuana, like Cheech and Chong level. There's not an amount I think that you could smoke before you're like, you know what looks good? Lime jello with green olives. That's not right. Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4227. Rich is in Chicago. Says there's been a passing of the torch in the NBA. Hey, Rich, how are you?
Hey, good morning. I think what is really fun to watch, and I'm an old school guy, so these playoff games are like the 80s.
Yep.
Where you can just beat the hell out of guys. And I think that's part of the refereeing. The no calls, et cetera. They're letting everything go. But the point I wanted to make about changing the guard is the teams that are in the playoffs and the teams that are emerging are the young teams versus the old teams, the old aging veteran teams.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a look at the average age, and I looked this up, it's kind of interesting. Oklahoma City in the league is second. The Pacers are 9. The T-Warriors are 12. Knicks are even 16. So you got young guys emerging. You got superstars like Edwards. And Perloff's comment about Gobert, they're winning without him, and I don't think that matters. I'm all over the T-Wolves. I was visiting Monday morning. I had them going all the way in the West early. But Gobert only averages 14 points a game.
Yeah, but his presence felt on the defensive side, and they didn't need him last night. I mean, they held the Denver Nuggets to 80 points. That's crazy.
Well, here's something most people don't know. The number one defensive team in the league are the Timberwolves.
Yep.
Yeah.
EJ was pointing that out weeks ago.
They are. And here's something else. When you talk about winning, 2 on the road, look at their home record. That's why this is going to be a sweep. They're 30 and 11 at home, and now Denver's walking into that.
Rich, great points all around, man. And it's all going to add up to, there's going to be this changing of the guard. Rich, thank you for the call. There's going to be a referendum on the old guys. That's for sure as well. A new superstar in Anthony Edwards, and me eating lime jello with tuna fish on top.
If they sweep Kevin Durant and the Suns and then sweep Jokic and the Nuggets, that is crazy. And possible? I mean, that's amazing.
You're right. And it's funny because now I think maybe I look at the Suns a little differently. Like, man, maybe we shouldn't have been so down on the Suns.
Suns had a win last night, basically.
I have a question for you guys.
And the Lakers look even worse losing to the Nuggets like this. Yeah.
I have a question for you guys because we were talking about, and Rich made an interesting point, how he feels like he's watching 80s basketball again, watching how physical the games are. And we always have this generational argument about, like, oh, would the guys now be good in the 80s or 90s when the game's more physical? Are you actually taking more credit or giving more credit to the guys like Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, some of these guys that are playing in a much more physical style that we have not seen in the NBA, quite frankly, for the last 10, 15, maybe 20, 25 years, and they're still ascending, where we're seeing other guys like Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and other guys that have struggled in this, whatever this new generation of the NBA that we're seeing today. Do you give these guys more credit for it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the one thing is, I kind of ascribe to the you'd be good in any era. If you're good, you're good. But I do think you're right about, especially for a guy like Brunson and probably for Anthony Edwards, guys who are really physical players. I mean, Brunson, how he's able to back down guys, and he's 6'1", 6'2". That's something very unique. That is like a unique body type. And Anthony Edwards plays with a ton of force.
I think also Brunson's had the right matchups. I mean, the Sixers were not a great team. I don't think the Pacers really belong in the second round of the playoffs either. They're kind of young. They got an easy draw in the first round. So we'll see. But you said
they got lucky because Giannis was out.
Yeah, and Dame was hurt.
Yeah.
Booker, so you're saying Booker is not translating this modern era. You mean since January when they started changing this? Because he did score 40 points a game in last year's playoffs. He was awesome. Is it really, have we seen a changing the guard from last year to this year? Is that sort of what you're getting?
My thing is
I think you could be right.
I'm thinking just because of just how the game's being reffed in this.
Right now.
Yeah, in these last 2 weeks, literally 3 weeks. Like, we always had these conversations, Steph Curry played in the 80s, 90s, he wouldn't be able to do all that. Well, now we're actually getting to see what these guys would maybe look like in the 80s or 90s because they're allowing them to play as physical as they were in the 80s and 90s. They're clearly guys cream rising to the top with some players and other guys that are in Cancun right now.
Yeah, suits some guys, doesn't suit other guys. I think it's definitely a good point.
I mean, Booker averaged 28 points a game and shot 50% from the field in the last series. I'm not sure this is a referendum on Devin Booker or Durant. The rest of that roster was awful. So
Booker struggled the first 2 games.
Yeah, he had bad games, and then he went off at the end. I'm just saying, I think it's a little early to make those kind of referendums in this new era. We'll see. I wonder, are you going to have big guys like Oakley and Anthony Mason come back and Alonzo Mourning? Because last night, Karl Anthony Towns was using his weight because they're like, throw it around all you want, big guy. And then you have, because the league's gotten skinny over the last 10 years, right? Because of the three-point line. Are they going to bring back these sort of beefed up guys? Is that what's happening? Are we going back to Heat Knicks and Jeff Van Gundy chewing on Alonzo Mourning's leg? Is that coming? Is that coming back? I know Bilotti's you like that kind of basketball, right?
Let's go. Come on.
San Quentin rules.
Brawl. Let's brawl. Come on.
For a second, I was like, man, maybe is Zach Edey going to end up having this great NBA career?
We
talked about that for weeks during the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I don't know if Zach Edey's tough enough for this particular game.
Toughen him up a little. 855-212-4227, yes?
Yeah, no, I love it. But then we have Wembanyama, who's tall and skinny and moves like a guard. So I don't know. I think the NBA is going to revisit this refereeing after the season. Is this working? It's a great question. I'm not sure it is.
Yeah, that's a good question, good poll question. You blaming the referees. Is this working? Is this fun to watch? Because what the hell's going on out there? And the stuff that's weird is not just about even the physical play or even the questionable calls. You literally had a coach get in a referee's face last night and nothing happened. And then you had Jamal Murray throw a heating pad onto the floor from the bench while play is going on and nothing happened. I don't understand it. 855-212-4227. All right, coming up, PatRiley with some pointed criticism for Jimmy Butler. This is heat on heat crime. We get to that in a moment. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Biglotti's got something to say. Infinity's mice. He's feeling the dismay. No NBA on NBC. What a shame. Just JJ Redick's wine ain't the same. Peter Bellotti is getting upset. Maggie Perloff, can you hear his plea? Bring bring back the NBA on NBC. Set his spirit free, he misses Mar. Co-stars and the crew, those were the days. Pete cries out, boo-hoo, boo. Bring it back, oh can't you see? Bring back the NBA on NBC. Let it be. Pete's mad, he's feeling sad. Bring it back, oh make it right. Peter Berardi, he made a prediction. Said the Heat gonna win. Celtics got no conviction, but now he's hiding, running away. Won't own up to his words, can't face the dismay. He thought Miami would rise like the sun in the sky, but now he's got excuses, got no alibi. He thought the Heat had it, it was a sure bet, but they couldn't handle Boston, not just yet. Peter Bellotti, where you at now? You made a bold choice, but where's your wow? Can't stand the heat in the kitchen. Your predictions cold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. Peter Bellotti, he made a prediction. Said the Heat gonna win. Celtics got no conviction, but now he's hiding, running away. Won't own up to his words, can't face the dismay. He thought Miami would rise like the sun in the sky, but now he's got excuses, got no alibi. He thought the Heat had it, it was a sure bet, but they couldn't handle Boston, not just yet. Peter Bellotti, where you at now? You made Peter Bellotti, not just yet. Peter Bellotti, where you at now? You made a bold choice, but where's your wow? Can't stand the heat in the kitchen. Your predictions cold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. Peter Bellotti, he made a prediction. Said the Heat gonna win. Celtics got no conviction.
1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Man, my Sixers are out of the playoffs. Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. But it does give me some joy to see former Sixers struggling as well. James Harden is out, and Jimmy Butler is out, but he's still being heard from, Mag.
Yeah, well, PatRiley and the legendary PatRiley doing his postseason press conference yesterday. and had some things to say about Jimmy Butler. So let's just get a couple facts on the table here. Jimmy Butler has 2 years left on his deal with the Miami Heat. Next year, and then the year after that is a player option. So everyone needs to know that. Here is PatRiley saying he is not going to trade Jimmy Butler.
That was discussed prior to last year. We had a discussion with his agent about that. That was discussed thoroughly. And so there's a gray area during the regular season.
Get a quality player back, an all-star, someone of that ilk in return, would you then at that point have to at least be open to considering a trade for Jimmy?
No.
He'll be a 1A type player to lead this team to a championship, provided that he's healthy in the playoffs if you put the right pieces.
Yes. Who moves the needle the most?
Okay. So all of that to say, PatRiley was very adamant, not trading Jimmy Butler, not trading Jimmy Butler.
But it did. He also said after the finals run, he was seriously considering trading him. Is that what I heard right there?
It got a little dicey there, but just know now.
No, so
today,
he's not trading. Okay,
not trading.
What we need to know is he is not trading Jimmy Butler.
Yes, forget the past, forget anything.
Yes,
not trading Jimmy Butler. However, Jimmy Butler was caught on a video when he was at a F1 event in Miami saying that if he was playing in the series, the Celtics would be home. If he was playing in the series, the New York Knicks would be home. He had a lot to say about how things would be different if he was playing. PatRiley reacted to that.
For him to say that, I thought, is that Jimmy trolling or is that Jimmy serious? If you're not on the court playing against Boston or on the court playing against the New York Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut in your criticism of those teams.
Interesting way to put it. I mean, telling somebody, another grown-up and somebody who's done a lot of winning for you, to keep their mouth shut might not go over in the best way. Now, it is PatRiley. He's like a legend of the game, so maybe you give him a little bit more latitude. But I ask, is PatRiley not to blame for any of this? Jimmy Butler hasn't played more than 56 games or whatever his whole 5 years, regular season games, his whole 5 years with the Miami Heat. They have 2 finals appearances, 1 Eastern Conference Finals appearance. They've treated Jimmy with these sort of kid gloves, playoff Jimmy, all this stuff. So now to turn around and say, keep your mouth shut. Does Riley not have any responsibility here? They've allowed Jimmy to take as much time as he wants to heal and all of that.
Blame for what? For wild playoff success? Blame. He should be. It's one of the great moves of PatRiley's career to bring Jimmy Butler in. They've gotten everything. And by the way, I do not believe for 1 second that he's not on the market right now. That was a precursor. He's getting out of here. I think PatRiley's handled this perfectly. He milked him for all he's worth, and now he's going to get rid of him now that he's older.
Well, I don't know if he's going to be able to get rid of him so fast, but him criticizing Butler, I'm saying, doesn't PatRiley, does he not play into this at all? He's criticizing him for missing games. PatRiley shouldn't be criticizing Jimmy Butler here, right?
No, of course he has every right to criticize him because he's ready to move on. This is what, honestly, I watched this story pretty carefully yesterday. A lot of people are like, oh, that's PatRiley saying, I'm open for business.
Okay, but so that might be a weird negotiating tactic too. That's a weird strategy because are you trying to basically get Jimmy Butler to say, I want to leave?
Whatever, just get him out of town.
But are you lowering his trade value if you're out there openly telling him he should keep his mouth shut if he's not playing, or kind of insinuating that, tough talking one of your best players?
I don't think
it's one thing to move him, but it's another thing to put it out there publicly that you're that upset with him.
I think if you look at the teams that are going to want Jimmy Butler, a young, talented team that wants that toughness, they're not going to care about that. In fact, I think it adds to the lure. You bring in Jimmy Butler, you bring in confidence. You bring in sort of kind of like PatRiley himself, toughness.
Right.
I think Riley is being more utilitarian than you think. I think he's saying that he's creating the narrative that Jimmy's on his way out.
Okay, so he's trying to push the right buttons where he knows that Jimmy Butler will react in a certain way. Probably not kindly to being told to keep your mouth shut and maybe will ask for a trade.
Or he's just telling his fan base, listen, the Jimmy thing, we tried. It's not working. Let's time to rebuild. So it's going to be tough, though, because say San Antonio wants Jimmy Butler. Say they want him. Jimmy Butler's 34, could add a lot to that team, but can they make the salaries work out for that? San Antonio will be in the lottery this weekend. They have the 5th best odds. There's no great draft picks, but I think it's time. Miami's Do you agree with this? Miami's got to rebuild. Like, they push this version as far as it's possibly going to go.
I might agree with you there, but Miami's such a destination. I feel like they always think, well, we can lure another star. Listen, Dame Lillard wanted to go to Miami desperately, and basically it was just that the Blazers didn't want to play ball, and they sent him to Milwaukee, and that's fine, but it's still a destination to go there. They might think, why do we need to blow it up? We can just get people to keep coming to us.
Okay, so I think you have two options then. Do you start over with some younger players, or do you keep on adding old players? I think it's a tougher question than it sounds.
Yeah.
Unless you get Embiid down there or something like that, I'm not sure where they're going with this Jimmy Butler version. I would look to trade him.
Injured guy with Joel Embiid. Can he hold up?
By the way, I think you're underselling. Butler has had an incredible amount of success here in Miami.
I know, but I think it's weird that PatRiley would come out and be critical of him and be publicly critical when everyone's been on board, it seems, with the playoff Jimmy. Like, it doesn't matter how many games he plays in the regular season. It doesn't matter if you have to play in the play-in game. It doesn't matter if you have home court advantage, because Jimmy Butler is the X factor, right? He's the great equalizer. So for Riley to come out and say, well, now keep your mouth shut, it's like, dude, come on. Everyone's been on board that Jimmy didn't play a lot of games.
It's not about the playing games. It's about the talking that he's bothering me.
Missing games.
But it's not really the missing games. It's really, I think, it's the talking. And even during the series when he was talking.
You know who you have, right? Jimmy Butler did a TV interview in the middle of Game 3. Said that, they're going to win this game, they're going to win the series or whatever. I think that, listen, your league partners with the TV. I think PatRiley really cared about that. I do think it's the missing games is the big part.
He mentioned the missing games is the reason why maybe they won't extend him. He says they talked to Butler's agent about that. Sorry about that botched cut on the trade. But
sorry, we don't throw people under the bus on this
I'll throw myself under the bus.
Show. We're a team.
But what I will say, though, is I think it's fascinating because to me, I listened to PatRiley yesterday, and I felt like this was a guy who actually, for the first time, was not buying into Heat culture being a magic wand, and everyone else, I think, thinking that it is. Because he's talking about Tyler Hero missing a bunch of games. He's talking about Jimmy Butler missing a bunch of games. And we kind of forget, like, when that whole slogan with the Heat culture thing that's on the court, it also says best condition and, like, toughest. Like, I don't think he's about this, like, load management, miss half the games, treat the regular season like it's a joke, and then show up in playoff time.
Yeah, but they didn't care last year when they made it to the finals.
When we say they didn't care, I think they did care. I think they just got lucky. I don't want to say lucky because Jimmy Butler's great, but, like, he showed up when they needed him to.
Right, and I think that's a deal they've been willing to make. And now it's like, well, now shut your mouth if you're not playing. It's like, come on, man.
Well, that's not the first time PatRiley has told Jimmy Butler this. He probably told him that exact same quote before he told the media. That'd be my guess, too.
Yeah,
because PatRiley doesn't pull any punches. As much as I hate him, he doesn't pull any punches.
He doesn't. So that's a little what's going on with the Heat. PatRiley, Andrew Bogusch is here with headlines. Hello.
Hello again. So Jalen Brunson being the best player ever is plan A. Plan B is...
Pacers ball. Here is Halliburton. Shot clock is off. Indiana down a point at Madison Square Garden. And Turner will be called for an offensive foul on the screen.
Brian Anderson on TNT. The very debatable moving screen on Miles Turner followed a no-kick ball that denied Indy a takeaway in the final minute. That fueled the Knick rally. Brunson scoring 21 of his 43 in the fourth. New York went from down 9 to a 121-117 win in Game 1 of Round 2. Indy head coach Rick Carlisle.
We're not expecting to get calls in here. It'd be nice if they laid off that one, but they didn't. So, that's just the way it goes.
Your nightcap was over by halftime. The T-Wolves rolling through Denver for a 106-80 win and a 2-0 lead on last year's champs. Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns each scored 27 for Minnesota. Some said Wembanyama. Others said sell your mama for Wembanyama, and they were right. Sorry, moms, it was a good deal. Wemby is the unanimous Rookie of the Year, so Chicago, Detroit, and Albuquerque should get ready for the Perloff solo tour.
Nobody could throw me a bone.
Waves. He's got the road trip blues left behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio, can't believe his eyes, but Bogusch stuck at home. His heartache amplifies.
My heartache amplifies.
Bogusch?
Bogusch. The big Bogusch.
You are Bogusch now.
I'm a lot of things. They're all sad.
What dialect is Bogusch?
I don't know.
Where they have tuna jello, clearly.
Wait, what is Bogusch? What background is that?
Like Russian, Eastern European.
So you could be Bogusch.
Could be.
So that song was a little bit sad for this. Aren't we going to celebrate this road trip? Can I get like
It's a punishment for you.
upbeat, like I don't know, Black Eyed Peas or something? What was that? Was
Let's
like,
get it started.
Oh no, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about me being left out and having no friends, so it's going to be sad.
Yeah, this is about Bogusch. It's not about you.
Not always about you, Perloff.
Not everything's about you, Pearl. It's about Bogusch this time.
The big Bogusch.
That is a sad spin on Bogusch. Bogusch seems kind of a happy name. Bogusch is really heavy.
But it does sound like I would definitely eat, EJ's right, tuna in jello.
Yeah.
That is a Scandinavian, like, I had a Viking ship, Bogusch.
It actually sounds like that's the name of the dish. It's the Bogusch.
Yeah.
A Bogusch for the table. We'll start with a Bogusch, and then we'll move on to entrees.
What kind of wine do you drink with a Bogusch? White or red?
Maybe a Eastern European power forward to go 17th in the draft this year or something. I don't know. Bogusch.
In this draft, for sure, I'm a lottery pick.
Wait, do you really want to go on this trip?
Not anymore.
I mean, first of all, I don't understand. Everyone's like, isn't there a show to put on? Like, we're all like, yeah,
we
let's
got that.
Yeah. I feel
You have
like
to film Motel 6 somewhere along the way. You'll be good.
yeah. Everyone is so focused on this trip, on the journey. We forget actually we all have jobs. Like, Bogusch, you have to be here.
He can get the headlines on the road.
Yeah, he can do the updates next to you.
Yeah. And be the official like stat keeper of the trip. You're driving, you're focused. I got to keep track of all the nonsense.
That's true.
Or
Keeping the minutes.
That was my idea.
All right, as long as Schwartz is not here, it's fine.
Also, team photographer, Andrew Bogusch.
Right. All the things I could have done.
Yeah.
Had you just said yes.
If you guys want an update with Crash playing in the background, which is the Dave Matthews soundtrack, I mean, that's reason enough not to bring you Bogusch.
We could go the
Start dancing
entire
like him.
way without playing Dave, and I'd be fine with it.
It'd be funny if somewhere around Tennessee, Bogusch just puts in the headphones. Like, I'm sorry, I'm going through Dave withdrawal.
He starts dancing like Dave. You know that move where he bends over and like his arms go all over the place? That move.
Sorry about the big band music, Pete, like you love.
Also called the Bogusch is that dance move.
Dance move, yeah.
I like big band music. I like old music.
Yeah, I know. That was the point of my joke.
I know.
You haven't liked new music since 1954. You haven't
Bellotti
liked
would've
music
been-
released on a CD. It had to be on vinyl.
Bellotti would have been good in roadside bar after the war's over. Like, with a woman slides through his legs.
I'm not singing "Put It on a Ritz."
You're like celebrating VE Day.
hey.
Wait, what is the
you
Dave
for
Matthews move where he moves his arms all around? I'm not
that's a
familiar.
Pete joke.
Wait, have you never been to a Dave Matthews concert?
I definitely have never been to a Dave Matthews concert.
Oh, they're fun. You can
So
sit
he
on a
moves
lawn.
his arms around like
Oh,
what?
he dances like crazy.
Yeah, he dances weird sometimes.
DMB does? Okay, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's a weird
It's like
dance.
it's kind of like hunched over, sort of.
It's like a back injury.
I'm
There's
not
so
a
much more
hippie.
you
I
can
don't
learn
go to
about Dave
DMB
Matthews if
concerts.
you just bring Bogusch. You learn about his dance moves. You can learn about these 17-minute songs, apparently.
No. We could go the entire time without one single mention. You guys pegging me as
Challenge.
one-dimensional
Yeah.
is it's tough to hear.
Well,
It's gonna
when you travel to international destinations,
Hey,
to
did I go to Europe just now? Did I go to Portugal? Did I go to Dublin? I did not.
Were you live streaming those?
Did you
shows?
actually?
I tried to on Sunday. It didn't work.
Did you Google
Jerks.
airfare prices to all of those places?
I did not Google airfare prices. No, the calendar was the problem. Had the different time of year, then I might have Googled an airfare.
What was? I mean, Maggie just said you just went on a what was the concert thing you just?
Yeah,
said?
I went to Mexico.
For
Yeah.
who? DMB?
Yeah. And you talk about the times I'm taking off. I'm taking off to watch kids. You're taking off to go on vacation.
Okay, slow down, Wrestle Boy. Okay,
Yeah, one time.
And if you want to do a deep dive, were you
Let's
really
do it.
watching kids last
Let's
week?
do it. Yes, I was.
Okay.
Oh,
Kids was actually
wow.
the movie with
Yeah.
the
Wow,
Harmony
what was that
Corps.
allegation?
I got a
grew up
lot.
a kid.
And then the previous time you were off because you were tired from WrestleMania. Was that a kid watching thing?
I was watching kids too.
That's a holiday.
Isn't that easy?
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, I have heard, Pete, that your kids often need watching the day after WrestleMania.
And SummerSlam and Survivor Series and occasional Raws.
That's
it depends.
right. Timmy wants to be at home with mom and dad.
And you're asking what would happen to the show if you're on the road. Clearly, we've got things under control.
right.
Yeah, Perloff.
That being said, I think we would all totally accept wanting the day off after WrestleMania. That's a perfectly good excuse in this workplace. Yeah.
Look,
Maybe because we were
I wore
there.
spandex for like 14 hours. I could have used the day off.
Honestly, EJ, you're so right about that. That spandex, we wore that costume like 5 different times.
Oh, you lost. That's why you wore it.
But they were here that Monday, Pete.
But they lost.
You weren't.
Okay, fine. I wasn't.
What spandex were you wearing on Sunday?
Everything.
Oh, that's what it sounds like.
Man.
Many outfits.
Yeah.
Man, that feels like that was that, how long ago was WrestleMania? It feels like a month ago.
It was about a month ago.
Was it a month ago?
Yeah, literally a month ago.
Oh, there we go.
Right on the nose.
Yesterday feels like a month ago.
Feels like a month ago.
Oh,
and
man.
it was.
Back in the day. I agree with Maggie. That was not a month ago. Check your calendar.
No, it was.
Could not have been a month
It's always the first weekend in
It
April.
was. Remember how cold it was?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's always the first weekend in April. Where
Things
it
move
makes up
fast.
stuff.
Yeah. What else were we talking about? Bogusch, back to you. Bogusch.
Yeah, playoff hockey. The Bruins began their second-round series in Florida with a 5-1 win, and Angel Reese was at the Met Gala at the Louvre last night, but she is spending most of her time these days in Chicago prepping for her first WNBA season with the Sky, and she says Chicago is not wasting time introducing itself to her.
It was crazy. Yesterday, I was in the car, and I was getting back in the car, and I was trying to leave, but this girl was banging on my window. She was like, act like you from Chicago, open this window up. I'm like, I'm a little nervous around here. I'm not. Once I get a little more familiar with the area, obviously, and feel more comfortable, I'm going to be fine. But, I mean, being able to see people recognize me is great. I walk down the street and everybody, Angel Reese, welcome to the city. I've been everywhere kind of downtown, getting different foods. Everybody just wanted me to try so many different things. So I'm welcome here for sure.
I'm glad the food is good, but isn't that the beginning of the story, like, is half a carjacking? Like, she's, like, demanding you open the window? What does that mean?
Yeah, she was so upbeat about the fact that some strange person was knocking on her window.
That was
It's terrifying.
a story disguised in a real story. It was all disguised, that story, it seemed like.
Yeah. No, she seemed really just generally like, I'm just a kid from the small town, which I don't even think she is, by the
Baltimore.
way. Yeah. But I get it. Chicago could be daunting. It's a big city, and there's it's
like
hard
any
to be
big
in
city.
it's hard to be in a new city. Like, you have to get your bearings. I get that, at least.
Yeah, the banging on the window part. It's like, whoa. Yeah.
And the person was like, act like you've been in Chicago before. Open your window. She's like, how would I know what
Yeah,
Chicagoans do?
What does that mean?
What does that even mean?
Glad to see it. Everyone's still so excited, though. That's good.
Yeah, I kind of loved like that she was so upbeat because like her college career ended like with like her sounding so sad and
Oh, yeah.
depressed. Quite
The
frankly.
abuse that she was taking online.
Yeah.
and-
So the fact that like she's like gone to this new city and she seems so excited, even though random people are banging on her car window. That's pretty cool.
Listen, not to make every WNBA story about Caitlin Clark, but there was a moment, it felt like, at the WNBA draft where she did seem a little relieved. I know that there's a lot of pressure on her, but not like college. That, I think,
Which
was...
who, Caitlin or Angel?
Well, probably both, but definitely Caitlin. I mean, Angel won a title, so I think some of the pressure goes off with that. But, I mean, she was everything for college. At least she kind of spread around some of the stardom, right, at the WNBA?
Nope.
Yeah, I'm wrong. Okay.
Nope. It's Caitlin and Angel because she was Caitlin's foe. Those are the two biggest stars. All of a sudden, I don't think it's spread around that much.
All right, maybe not. Bogusch, thank you so much. Learn that is a native dish. It's also a dance move. Really is a versatile. And thank you to Andrew Kaplan for that fun song.
Real quick, what's wrong with big band music? He's bashing me for big band music. I love big band music and every other song. That was a
Every other song you
We're
love?
going to take you to swing dance.
Take tomorrow off.
Thank you. I will.
The kid somewhere needs to be watching.
That's right.
Bilotti was born in the wrong era. You
For
know?
a century.
See?
Oh, so good. Okay, coming up, we will do a couple things. We will check in on the Cowboys, that's for sure. We do it next. Don't move, Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
For our Cowboys quickie for today, Stephen Jones speaking on, where was he, EJ? Adam Shine Show. Hey, Shine. Says he believes that Dak Prescott can win a Super Bowl.
Absolutely. I mean, I totally think Dak can lead us to a championship. He does everything the right way. He's certainly the leader of this football team. He keeps, everybody motivated in the off season. He's got everybody working out and doing all the things that it takes to put in the work.
All right. Also commenting, Perloff, on why they did not go after Derrick Henry. Of course, Derrick Henry joined the Baltimore Ravens. Here's why.
No one ever wants to say it, but it's salary cap. And we just didn't, have the money to allocate to that position, in terms of where we were from a cap standpoint, knowing what we're looking at with Dak and certainly Micah and CeeDee Lamb. We just didn't have those type of resources to allocate that position.
All right. So there you go. You're a Cowboy quickie.
I think there's a consistency here. You got to give the Cowboys credit. They're saying a bunch of words that mean absolutely nothing. Steven is formulating words that individually have meaning. When you put it all together and you watch what they've done, it's a nothing burger. I mean, honestly, and I know you agree with this too. If you're really all in and if you really believe Dak can win a Super Bowl, then what is happening?
Yeah, the other point about this, they said it's a priority to get a contract done with Dak Prescott. It could have fooled us. But
yeah.
Here's the thing about Dak and winning the Super Bowl. Sure, are there less talented quarterbacks who have won Super Bowls before? Yeah, sure. But my question for you is, if he can lead the team to the Super Bowl, then why hasn't he yet?
Well, the team is not ideal. I mean, they've not been a perfect team around them.
Okay, but your point is always, how many 12-win seasons in a row can you have before you actually break through and win if you have what you believe is a quarterback who can get you there? And Dak, on top of it, had an MVP-type season last year. It's rare when you have somebody who's in that MVP discussion, not just get bounced in the playoffs, that happens, but get bounced in the first round and get drubbed.
His defense, first of all, he had 400 yards and 3 TDs in that game. I know he had a couple picks. Pretty empty, but there is Patrick Mahomes combined with Josh Allen combined with Justin Herbert was not winning that game. The defense did not even show up at the stadium. Green Bay ran like crazy on them. I think they scored 48 points in that game. So that's not on Dak. Let me ask
think
this
about
question.
it. That defense was being compared to the 85 Bears earlier in the season. They were being compared to the 80s Giants earlier in that season.
Because they beat the Giants 40-0. I know, but regardless, by the end of the season, nobody was making that mistake. If you put Dak with Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, yeah, he could win a Super Bowl. If you put him with Andy Reid and had talent around him, yeah, maybe he could get to a Super Bowl. This Dak, whatever you want to say, Dak and Dallas are not getting to a Super Bowl. We know that. I just don't understand this Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones sort of ignoring the obvious and keep on saying we're all in or keep on saying that Dak can win us a title. And you've been saying this all along. They have to show us something here. Then, make a move, do something. Or is it possible they're just saying this and throwing away this year? Is this really a rebuild year?
They tell us all the time we're not in a rush to sign anybody, and it keeps burning them over and over again. Let's hit the phones. 855-212-4227. Carla is in Idaho. Good morning, Carla.
Good morning, Maggie and Pearl. How are you guys?
We're doing awesome. What's on your mind?
Great. Thanks for taking my call. 2 things. One is just comment. I like big band music too, Pete.
Thank you.
Love it.
You're welcome. And secondly, I was glad to hear you guys kind of talking about Dak Prescott just now, kind of the way you were, because I keep wondering what's the big deal about him. But here's my question, because you guys weren't on our radio, back when you were in the afternoon. So this is kind of a long-standing thing for you guys. What's the big deal about the Cowboys that you update on them as frequently as you do?
I'll let you fill that one, Maggie.
And Carla. Well, glad that you and Pete can bond over the big band music. A couple of reasons. I think we find the Cowboys to be a bit endlessly fascinating. The Cowboys also have a very wide-reaching fan base. And so at a national show, when we want to update people on the team that have the fan base that's spread far around and wide over the country.
But, Carla, I think you'll notice when we talk about the Cowboys, it's a little bit of a wink because we understand they're overcovered.
Yes.
We're not fooling anybody about that.
Yes, that's why we do it every day. We call it a quickie. And yes. You explained that well enough? Oh, man. We got to explain the joke. Carla and Pete, though, big band music. Love you, Carla. Thank you for the call. Coming up, Kirk Cousins.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Oh, the best laid plans, right? Got a little reporting, Perloff, on leftover stuff from the NFL draft, and this one is involving Kirk Cousins. According to Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, Cousins was really deciding between staying in Minnesota and leaving to go to Atlanta. And what tipped him over the edge, what tipped the scales about leaving Minnesota to go to the Falcons, was that Minnesota was very open and honest with him that they were definitely drafting a quarterback in the first round.
Right.
Atlanta did not say such a thing. And then what ended up happening? Atlanta ends up taking Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick. So the one thing that Kirk Cousins was trying to avoid, which would be some type of quarterback competition with a young stud quarterback, well, he couldn't avoid it anyway because now it's right in his lap in Atlanta.
And I actually understand why Atlanta didn't tell him. Well, first of all, I couldn't tell him because they were afraid somebody would trade up and take Penix. Not that we have no idea. They don't know. You're sitting there in Atlanta. You don't know if somebody else happened to fall in love with the same quarterback you did. So you can't tell Kirk Cousins' agent, who is then talking to every team in the league about who knows what, because then it would get out. I saw actually something along those lines. Denver had to hide the fact that they wanted Bo Nix in their own building, just because you have no idea in today's NFL. So they couldn't say anything to Cousins. And, I mean, if they had said to him in free agency, they wouldn't have gotten him. I don't know. I understand Atlanta's secretiveness about this. So I'm sorry, Kirk, you kind of got screwed. But there's nothing Atlanta could have done, or should they have said something?
Well, that's not really the official story that Atlanta's going with. The official story Atlanta's going with is that they were behind the 8 ball on scouting because they were going through an extensive coaching search, and they sort of were a little late to the party. And as they're getting caught up on Penix, they started to fall in love with him, right?
Well, right. But what's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, I think the process is flawed, but no, it's their right to take whoever they want to take. But if you're talking about this from Kirk Cousins' point of view, where he decides to leave Minnesota simply because he didn't want to compete with a young quarterback, you left the better situation in Minnesota. Minnesota is definitely the better situation offensively. Those are more proven offensive weapons, and definitely a more proven offensive coach. I mean, not that Minnesota and Kevin O'Connell has done anything great in the league, but Raheem Morris is definitely a defensive guy, and now your offensive coordinator comes from the Rams, and he's a first-time offensive coordinator. So
he's just another version of Kevin O'Connell. I mean, they're not that different.
Maybe, but again, you never know when somebody's finally calling plays. Like, do they rise to the occasion? Do they don't? So there's a lot more sure things that are happening in Minnesota. I'm not saying they've had a lot of success. I'm just saying more sure things. And if you're asking me if I want to be throwing passes to Justin Jefferson or Drake London, I'm going to pick Justin Jefferson. I mean, Jefferson, Addison, I just think that Kirk Cousins, he tried to get too cute on this, and I think it ends up backfiring on him big time because he wanted to avoid the competition, thought going to Atlanta, they'd basically anoint him as the starter, and they had other plans. And now there's egg on his face, I think, with this reporting that he was dodging and ducking the smoke, as the kids say today.
No, I disagree with a few elements of that. First of all, there's a huge argument for Atlanta to be a better spot, the division. I mean, the NFC North is the up-and-coming division. They have the Lions are on fire. The Packers have Jordan Love, and now the Bears got Caleb Williams. So Atlanta's got nothing going on. There's no competition at all. Kirk Cousins should be able to win the division. So there's that. But also, about this competition, even now, there's no competition, right? Like, Kirk's not going to have to beat him in training camp. That's not what it's about. It's about there's no future.
Here's the thing. Kirk's 35. What kind of future is he expecting here?
Okay.
I mean,
it's
some
radical.
point, you're going to have to be the mentor for a young guy. Like, that happens. It happens to everybody.
Okay, Arthur Blank is not going to let you pay $50 million for a backup. That's just not going to happen. There's no real competition here. Penix, I mean, the only competition is Kirk Cousins versus his Achilles. If he's healthy, he's on the field.
Okay, but we're talking about Kirk Cousins. New reporting from Albert Breer said that he didn't want to stay in Minnesota because Minnesota was open and honest about they're going to draft a quarterback in the first round. Instead, he goes to Atlanta, think he's got the spot all wrapped up, and lo and behold, they take Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick. Here's the other thing about that, though. If you are expecting this, starting role, that's fine. If Kirk Cousins throws 3 picks in a game or throws, they lose 3 games in a row, you don't think, A, they're going to be calling for the rookie, and 2, if Kirk gets hurt or has to miss a game or miss a half or miss a quarter and Michael Penix comes in and plays well, you have a quarterback controversy on your hands.
Yeah, but he would have had the same exact situation in Minnesota. So if we're talking about Atlanta versus Minnesota, honestly, I don't think there's that big a distinction. I understand what you're saying about Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and Kevin O'Connell, proven offensive coach. But at the end of the day, Minnesota was going to move on. And because I think they hit a ceiling with Kirk Cousins. You can get to 12 wins. You get to even 13 wins they did one year. But I don't think Minnesota thought they could win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. I don't know if it can. And I don't know where else it was. If it was in Atlanta, where else was he going to go? I think the Steelers would have been a very interesting option, but it didn't seem like the Steelers went all in on Kirk in any real way.
Never really saw a lot of things connecting Kirk to that team, even though they were clearly, obviously, in the market for a quarterback, too. It's funny because now you understand a little bit more about why the report came out on draft night that Kirk Cousins was like frustrated and disappointed and all of this stuff when the Falcons took Michael Penix, because not only does he now have competition in the building that he didn't think he had, he realized he made the wrong choice. I mean, or at least you could say he made the wrong choice, and he looks a little foolish for him. Just stay and compete, man.
No, he didn't. You can't say he made the wrong choice. Well, I mean, because the Vikings actually seem more interested in playing J.J. McCarthy than the Falcons are in playing Michael Penix.
Well, that's for now.
He might not have. Yeah, but he might not have started in week 1 in Minnesota.
It's funny because who do you think needs more seasoning? I would think that
they're pretty close.
J.J. McCarthy would be definitely better served sitting a year. Michael Penix, 24 years old, got the cannon for an arm, just tons of experience, high volume passer. It seems like he's the guy who's ready to sort of step in right away out of all the guys.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, J.J. McCarthy's played a lot of football games. And certainly, I think one of the things you compliment J.J. McCarthy for is his poise. It doesn't... He is hardly a project. I mean, how many times have we seen JJ? I know he hasn't thrown the ball a lot, but he's played a ton of games. He's certainly not Mitchell Trubisky who had 1 year and gone. True. He's a little bit younger, but the way he plays, like, he kind of feels a little older to me. I think that both situations are not ideal. I understand why Kirk left and why he's upset, but nothing was happening in Minnesota. I mean, were they going to do another season of Kirk Cousins maybe being healthy? There's no way. There's not a chance they were going to pay him $50 million.
Okay, but all the things you just said about Minnesota now apply to Atlanta, and maybe you could say the division is a little easier to win in the NFC South.
A little.
I still think we're going to hear from the Bucs, but okay, we'll agree to disagree on that. But I just think that it shows that Cousins wanted this thing handed to him. And that's the part of it where it's a little disappointing. Like, you didn't want to go to a place because you thought you were going to have to compete. Well, here you go. Now they just basically put a rookie right over your shoulder. And it's a lesson. Like, you're never going to be able to control everything. And the fact that he decided to leave what was comfortable, a place that really, I think wanted him and would have kept him, in Minnesota. Why not?
I mean, I'll bet you they lowballed him pretty good because they were very, very obvious about the fact that they were ready to move on. They told him they were going to draft a quarterback in the top 12. What else do you need to know if you're a veteran quarterback?
Well, Atlanta went into that night knowing they were taking Michael Penix.
Right.
Now, they didn't tell Cousins, but that's also something. I'd rather be on the team that's being upfront with me and honest with me about it as opposed to the team that, I get it for competitive purposes. Maybe you couldn't tell Cousins right away, but make no mistake, the Atlanta Falcons went into that Thursday night of the draft knowing they were going to take Penix. They knew he was going to be there at 8. This was the plan. It's not like, oh my God, the board fell to us in this perfect way. They knew Penix was going to be there.
They know that the Giants interviewed Penix for real. I mean, they didn't know 100%.
Well, maybe you never know anything 100%, but
I mean, I always
pretty
thought
close.
Penix drop. No, I don't think so. I mean, listen, the Saints knew they were getting Patrick Mahomes at 11.
Wait, but the Giants interviewed Penix, but they didn't take him.
No, I know, but Atlanta had no idea what was going to happen that night. And honestly, I've watched some of Atlanta, like, apparently, according to all the reporting, they let a huge exhale when Penix was there at 8. They have no idea. Nobody knows. Honestly, after Sean Payton and Patrick Mahomes thing happened where they got a text from the Chiefs saying, "Ha, we got your guy," you never know in the NFL. But regardless of this, if you look at this now, let's have a real discussion. If you're Kirk Cousins, would you take, knowing what you know now, would you take $30 million to stay in Minnesota or $50 million to go to Atlanta?
I mean, I don't know. You don't know that number. We know the $50 million for Atlanta. You don't know that Minnesota's 30. That's a huge discrepancy. You're actually asking to make a $20 million difference. Let's put the money a little closer. let's say 50-42, something like that.
Why Minnesota? There's no way they were offering Kirk Cousins $42 million. They were openly drafting a quarterback. The Falcons apparently had no idea they were drafting a quarterback.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that.
I really don't think that the money was that close. I can't imagine that. Because why would Minnesota want to pay Kirk Cousins $42 million and draft somebody? What would be their
Why
incentive?
is Atlanta paying him $50 million and drafting somebody?
Well, Atlanta's crazy.
I know.
But Minnesota, I don't think was ever going to do that. They were going to pay top dollar for Kirk Cousins and draft somebody.
If I were Kirk, I would have stayed in Minnesota. They got better weapons. They're a little more proven along the way. Yes.
Wow.
What is Drake London, Kyle Pitts? We love Bijan around here. Came on the show many times. We were on in the afternoon. We don't know anything about them. I know Justin Jefferson but Justin Jefferson might be the top wide receiver in the league. 1
year of Justin Jefferson. I don't know. I mean, I think being on the bench in Minnesota would not be good for Kirk.
He had a better shot, I think, holding off J.J. McCarthy than he does Michael Penix. I'm telling you right now, follow the money. He is definitely starting this year. I mean, can you imagine? It's one thing to sit Matt Flynn for Russell Wilson. He was making big money back at the time. This would be the most expensive backup in the history of the sport by 20-fold. 855-212-4227. You are welcome to weigh in on the new detail about Kirk Cousins, and that is he left Minnesota because they were open and honest that they were drafting a quarterback in the first round. And lo and behold, he goes to Atlanta thinking that he's got the red carpet here to be starting, no questions asked, and they take a quarterback with the 8th overall pick. EJ, do we have some poll questions that we can update for the audience? We talked about the NBA. 2 pretty crazy games last night for very different reasons. Knicks Pacers comes down to the wire. A couple bad calls from referees sort of help grease the skids here for the Knicks to take a 1-0 lead. And then the nightcap, which was a full whitewashing of the defending champs. The Minnesota Timberwolves take down Denver. They now have a 2-0 lead after winning 2 games in the Mile High City against the defending champions. EJ, what do we have?
Okay, so we asked the question, the more serious question of the questions we have here. So it started with, are the referees ruining the NBA playoffs for you? Because Maggie has made the case that it is ruining it for her.
Yep.
Right now we have 48% say yes, 51% say no.
Okay.
So close there. Most people saying not, but it's very close there. And then there was a very interesting discussion that Maggie requested a poll about, and it was regarding the Knicks' success, because Perloff had an interesting theory that the reason why Jalen Brunson is on this complete heater where he's putting up numbers comparative to Michael Jordan is because NBA players struggle dealing with a lefty guard, that they're used to guarding right-handed players, while Maggie said something I actually said on Friday, was that maybe it's because there are these Nova players that have been playing together for such a long time. So we asked the question, what is a bigger reason for the Knicks' success? Nova alums chemistry or Brunson being a lefty? So 84% said the Nova alums chemistry, while 15% did go with Brunson being a lefty. So there you go.
Perloff sticking by the southpaw, that really messes up defenders. You have to flip everything in your mind.
I love this Nova chemistry. So the Nova chemistry is you sit around and you watch Jalen Brunson dribble for 17 out of 24 seconds on the clock, then hit a jumper on some scrub defender who should probably be in the G League. That's the Nova.
Yeah, exactly. That's the Nova. That's the Villanova chemistry.
I made this case on the show with him on Friday, Maggie.
Yeah.
This is not the first time we've seen this, and it goes beyond sports, because I know these guys are 2 superstars, but Joe Burrow basically begged the Bengals to draft Jamar Chase, even though everyone kept saying, take Penei Sewell, take it off some line. He kept saying, no, draft Chase, because one, he's a star, but also the chemistry we have already is going to come in, and we're going to make an impact immediately. And we saw that chemistry has definitely helped the Bengals. So I wonder if there is, there's
something to it.
It's rare you have 3 players who played on the same team playing in the NBA. That just doesn't happen very often.
It's also rare that a player scores 40 points in a row, 4 points a game. So I just don't, DiVincenzo disappeared for 85% of the Sixers series. Josh Hart will go 3 for 20 in a game. I just think this is Brunson, and more Brunson. He's the only one that matters at all on that team, right? Like, you could put me and Maggie around him last night, and they still are going to beat the Pacers.
But do you think that a different star, the caliber of Brunson, would have the Knicks this good? Like,
there is no other. I mean, unless you're Will Chamberlain, Kareem, nobody can stop this guy. There's something insane going on. First of all, I just don't understand why nobody's double teaming him. What is happening here?
Well, the first 2 games against the 76ers, Brunson did not have 2 good games. And what was going on there? It was a little bit of double teaming, I thought, and then you had other guys who stepped up and hit big shots. DiVincenzo did have 2 good games at first. And then they realized they couldn't really do that, and now here's Brunson able to do his thing, which is, as Delta said in the chat, or Daily, I forgot who it was. He, the pivoting, the getting to your spots, the, how he is able to back guys down with his big butt. All that stuff ends up coming into play. Sorry.
Well, yeah, but I mean, actually,
we know big butts matter.
As well as Brunson's playing, like he's never done this before. Nobody's ever done this before.
Well, he's never got these kind of minutes before either. Remember, that was a big thing. What they were talking about. Does he have some individual sort of beef with Rick Carlisle, the head coach of the Pacers, because they were together in Dallas, and when Luka Doncic was hurt, Brunson got a big opportunity, but then there were still times when maybe he didn't get enough minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
Is this a revenge factor, blah, blah, blah.
He probably would have scored 41 points a game. 41 points, Maggie. It's not a matter of minutes or anything. And honestly, let's be honest. He beat Nicholas Batum up in the first round, a 35-year-old Frenchman who was out of the NBA, and he's beating Andrew Nembhard up this week, a guy who's terrified of him and has no right to be out there covering him. And Tyrese Halliburton, where's he? Rick Carlisle.
All right, so say it. You think Brunson's overrated?
I'm not saying no. He's unstoppable right now, but he can't. Yes, I do not think that he is the best player since Michael Jordan. And the stats, I do not think he...
Wow, way to go out on a limb there.
No, there's no limb. Nobody's ever done this. This is Jordan-esque. He is playing better. Honestly, you're talking about like Lou Alcindor in 71, Chamberlain in 65, Michael Jordan in 93. That's what Jalen Brunson... Yes, he is not that good. Okay. I'm going to say it right now. He should not be scoring 40 points every time.
Mark that
because
down.
Why is nobody trying to adjust defensively to him? Like, is Rick Carlisle, what's his salary for? What's he doing there? Why is he even on the court?
I had something to say about this. I love how Edwards is perceived as, the next Michael Jordan, comparing to Michael Jordan. Jalen Brunson put up 40 points in 4 consecutive games, something that 4 people have done, and, he's not that good. I don't get that whole
So
thing.
Is he that good? That's what so are we saying right now that Jalen Brunson's a top 10 all-time player?
I don't think you could tell that right now.
He's playing amazing. And here's the other part about it. This is the other part about it. First of all, the Pacers are not synonymous with defense. This is a team that before they changed the rules to bully ball was allowing 150 points a game.
Right, and they have a fast pace that lets a lot of shots go on.
So that's part of it. And then the other part about Brunson and the scoring is, let's just call it what it is. He's got to score.
Right.
The Knicks have a bunch of non-scorers. I mean, listen, good team, well put together, probably going to win this series, all the good stuff about the Knicks, but no Julius Randle. Who's your next scorer? You mentioned it. DiVincenzo went away for 2.5 games of the last series. Josh Hart, not known to be a great scorer, good rebound, hustle guy, all that stuff. Hartenstein, OG Anunoby, these guys are not scorers.
Yeah, but anybody could have seen last night that Brunson was feeling it on Nembhard and switched him off or tried something.
Yeah.
I mean, that was so obvious. Honestly, I was... Okay, am I rooting against the Knicks a little bit because I'm a Sixers fan? Yes. I was screaming at Carlisle, do something. Do not just let him win the game right here. But Carlisle seemed to have no interest. He's fine. He said in the postgame, hey, give them their flowers. Maybe they'll figure out in the offseason.
Well, they were a couple bad calls away from probably stealing that game. So for all the criticism on Carlisle, they were right there. And if a couple calls go their way, or if Jalen Brunson misses a couple free throws, he iced the game with the free throws.
What makes you think they were going to stop Brunson in the last 2 possessions?
They did trap him. He turned the ball over once. I mean,
Knicks didn't play a great game.
They're not a great team. They're one person. They are one person who's on fire and a bunch of role players.
Well, I think there's something to Jalen Brunson playing and getting being the leader on the team. That's why I left Dallas. And when he has the ball and he has the control of that, he's the man, and he's showing it right now.
Yeah.
Those games in that playoff series that got him all that money were the games Luka didn't play.
Yep.
We've kind of seen a little bit of a preview of this, and people thought, well, those are just a couple games. And it was fair to say that. It was fair to say, well, it's only a couple games. How do you know he could be this star? It's remarkable that he's turned into this. He might be the most improved NBA player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You talk about a most improved award, they just give it to him and just retire their award.
Tyrese Maxey
Maxey, but I mean,
But what
Maxey was a
most improved player
first-round
this year?
pick and the one-and-done guy from Kentucky. Like, I mean, Maxey had some pedigree. Not to say that Brunson didn't, but Brunson, had to play 4 years in college. They list him at quote-unquote 6'1". Does he look 6'1" to you? I don't know. We were not that far from him, Perloff. We were sitting courtside. He didn't look 6'1" to me.
Brunson won Naismith Player of the Year in college, and Tyrese Maxey, no one had ever heard of. It was 23rd pick in the draft with floppy hair.
Brunson was a second-round pick.
So here's the thing.
Tyrese Maxey was a
the Knicks are
first-round
going to
pick.
beat the Pacers, and they're going to get swept 4-0 to the Celtics.
I bet you that they will not get swept.
The Sixers and the Pacers was a perfect draw for them, and they are playing. You're telling me that the Celtics are not going to put two guys on Jalen Brunson? They are. Someone's going to figure this out. The guy is not Elgin Baylor combined with Earl Monroe, combined with Will Chamberlain. He cannot keep scoring 40 points a game. It's not going to happen.
855-212-4227. A lot there for you to react to. We got the news first about Kirk Cousins did not want to stay in Minnesota because he knew they were drafting a quarterback in the first round, and then he goes to Atlanta, and your best laid plans go to pot because they took Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick. Then also a little criticism, my criticism of the NBA referees and Perloff's criticism of the Pacers' game plan last night, not double-teaming Jalen Brunson. Meanwhile, the defending champs are down 0-2 after losing 2 games at home to the upstart Timberwolves. There's a lot going on, guys. A lot going on. For you, 855-212-4227. Weigh in. You can watch us, youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet, twitch.tv/InfinitySportsNet. You can listen to us on all of our affiliates who we love. Obsessed with you. We think about you all the time. The absolutely free to download Odyssey app and SiriusXM channel 158.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the Armed Forces, DoD, veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Well, it feels kind of obvious. EJ picks the Defensive Player of the Week. T-Wolves held the defending champion Nuggets to 80 points. Clearly, one man is their defensive MVP, and that is Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who actually reminds me so much of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. 3 names, and I believe, I want to double check this, I believe he's Canadian as well, which is a new trend in the NBA. So it's got to be Nickeil Alexander-Walker. What do you think, Mag?
Okay, I think that EJ is going to oops-a-doops us here, and he's been lulling us into thinking it's going to be basketball, and I think he's going to take Swayman, the goalie last night in the Bruins-Panthers game, who was awesome with 38 saves.
Oh, I'm so disappointed. Defensive Player of the Week is Jeremy Swayman, which means Maggie actually got it right. I don't know how. I don't know if I left my computer up and she was looking at my computer.
Nothing nefarious. I don't cheat.
I don't know what happened. But
I've literally never gotten one of these. Why would I start cheating now? I'm not Belichick.
So Jeremy Swayman is Defensive Player of the Week because, as Maggie said, he had 38 saves on 39 tries in the Bruins' 5-1 win over Florida. A bit of revenge here because the Bruins got bounced by Florida in a really embarrassing first-round matchup last year. So they really set the tone, beating Florida 5-1. Swayman was awesome, so he gets Defensive Player of the Week as the goalie. And I tuck my tail behind my legs and go home because I thought I can keep the streak going, and the streak is now over.
I'm living rent-free in your cabeza.
Big
think butts matter.
I think this gets Maggie out of the tuna jello bet.
Oh, I wish, Bogusch. I wish. Bogusch, excuse me.
Thank you.
Yula Kaka. You're not allowed to pick Nickeil next week then when he shuts down his next opponent.
We have to get to how Pete was right. Pete Bellotti.
Thank you.
Take a victory lap, pal. You were right, and that is Gisele Bündchen deeply disappointed by the roast of Tom Brady. We talked about this yesterday, whether or not Tom was kind of a bad guy for putting his family out there. You had to know they were going to make jokes about the divorce. And so the kids would certainly hear this, get wind of it, and was it really worth, all of that? The source said, Gisele's priority is to support her children who were affected by the irresponsible content that was broadcasted.
There it is.
And if you want to feel even worse about yourself for making jokes or laughing at jokes about Gisele, the source said to People magazine, this past week, Gisele has been tirelessly dedicated to aiding those in need in her home state of Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil, which is grappling with the worst flooding in its history. She was concerned about family affected by the devastating floods, so to hear her life being joked about was very disappointed.
Wait.
Put all that in your pipes and smoke it, everybody.
I just want to make something clear here. So Pipilotti was right that Gisele Bunchkin was upset that they had a 3-hour well-watched documentary where they made fun of her taking 8 jiu-jitsu lessons a day. So you think that's really like you get credit for that analysis?
Yeah, I get credit for that. It was out of line to talk about somebody who has kids like that.
Oh, okay.
And
But yeah, of
clear.
course Gisele was upset, dude. What do you think? She was just a national laughingstock for 3.5 hours.
Tom Brady's a bum, and this proved it.
And there was
Right
a conversation about, like, did she know that this was going to happen? I think that's where it was.
I thought she got the
Maggie
heads
was saying
up.
she got the heads up. It'll be all good. And Pete was leading the charge.
There's no chance in the world she would have approved that.
Yeah.
And I agree
At
with her.
all.
Well, it's funny because so Drew Bledsoe, who was part of the roast, and Nikki Glazer, who were part of the roast, both came out yesterday in different interviews and said there were like limits and you couldn't talk about Tom's kids. But if you talk about the mothers of their kids, are you not also kind of swiping the kids?
And what if she messed up their family by sleeping with the jiu-jitsu teacher?
No, that's fine in Pete's world.
No,
like, so,
that's
like,
not-
doesn't that make
No.
it somewhat
Here's the-
okay to make jokes?
No, the kids are watching this all happen on
Right, so
television.
they should be mad at their mom.
No, they should be mad at
not
both of them.
Nikki Glazer.
They should be mad at both of them.
Okay.
For allowing this to happen. It's just totally irresponsible.
And let's
as far as
remember
I'm
the time.
concerned.
And let's remember the timeline of this. This divorce happened because Tom Brady went back to football.
Get outta
We're
here.
getting this. No,
Get
well,
outta here.
That's the timeline, Perloff.
Yep.
We can make fun of everything that the jiu-jitsu trainer or whatever. Gisele told Tom Brady, according to reports, it's time for you to come back home because I've been taking care of the kids. I've been the family woman, and you've been on this quest to get a zillion football trophies like you're collecting Infinity Stones. And he didn't. He said, okay, I'm back. No, never mind. I'm going to go play football. And then the divorce came.
That makes it okay to hook up with a jiu-jitsu
Not saying that
instructor?
it's okay, but when we
Well, it
talk
sounds
about...
like you're saying it's okay.
No, I'm saying when
It's
we talk
not
about
just
the
one
divorce...
thing.
we
I
can't-
think that leads to a
It's-
divorce. But the other part too is I think there is a little bit of gray area. I think because when the public finds out about someone's divorce, generally it's happened a little bit more in the past. So I don't know if this is a technicality. She actually cheating. Listen, we're never going to know the answer to this. But Pete was right. She's mad. I was wrong. I thought that maybe Tom gave everyone a heads up, like, hey, they're going to be joking around about our divorce. And
No chance.
apparently not.
He could have
He's a
said jokes are
dope.
coming. She should have known jokes are coming. She could still end up being disappointed about the jokes.
Yeah, I mean, to say that the kids are off limits, they technically were, but were they? I mean,
He's a dope because he went up there for the craft thing and was all pissed off about that.
That's
so,
true.
So
That's
I mean,
a bad look.
It's a terrible look. He should never. To be honest with you, I would have never done. If I was Tom Brady, which I wish I was, in some respects, in terms of playing on the field,
Yeah.
I would have
yeah,
never.
that's the only reason why you want to be Tom
right.
Brady.
I would have never done that roast.
Well,
Never.
I kind of like what Maggie's saying, like this idea that when a man cheats on a woman, it's a bigger story all of a sudden. So Urban Meyer had other consent. Get out of here. That is such a no way. Do you normally think that? If a guy cheats on his wife, you're down with that?
No,
saying
no,
it's a bigger,
That's
there's a
not
bigger
what we're-
picture?
That's
No, no.
not the point.
It sounds like what you're saying. That's
not
what
the
I'm
point.
getting.
But to EJ's point, it's like, did he make a promise that he was going to stop playing football?
Oh,
and we're
my
talking about
God.
broken promises here. And
Oh,
we're talking about.
No. There's no broken promises.
How
to
do you
be
think this
infidelity.
is so? But how do you
there's
think it's
no
so black
quid pro
and
quo.
white?
It's 100 because.
Do you know
there's
for sure they were still married when she
No,
was with the jiu-jitsu
I have no
instructor?
idea what actually happened, but I'm
Right.
saying like there's no him not quitting football is not an excuse to sleep with someone. There's no bigger picture there. If she did cheat on him, then that's the end of the story. That's the only thing that matters. Nothing else. No details are involved.
I don't agree with
do
that.
you believe
So
in
try cheating on your wife, guys.
No.
It's
No.
there's no bigger
please,
picture.
I did not try cheating on anybody.
There's no other
the
stories.
advice of a lifetime?
There's not something your wife can do to spur you on to cheating. There's zero excuses. It
Right,
doesn't
she could
exist.
drive you there, introduce you to the lady, and you'd still be wrong.
Drop you off with a bottle of champagne. You can't do it.
There's no bigger picture. It's totally black and white. It's 100 to 0.
Do you so take this away from Gisele and Brady for a second? I know we got to get to the update, but do you believe in affairs of the heart?
Well, I'm not going to answer that with my wife listening. Yeah. I mean,
do you think that
you're on
affairs
the
can only
road,
be-
a couple beers,
Right,
and drinking? Yeah,
yes.
I'll believe in affairs of the heart if I need to. I don't even know what that
call
word means.
emotional affairs.
Right. Yeah, you can cheat on your spouse without physically
consummating.
cheating. On
Yeah, that's garbage. No, there's cheating and there's not cheating.
Perloff, I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, affairs of the heart. But this idea that there was a bigger picture, so because we don't know, we're all assuming Giselle cheated on him. We have no idea what really happened. But the idea that because Tom did quit football, that it's okay to sleep with a jiu-jitsu instructor, that is the single craziest thing I've ever heard.
No, it's not about that because he didn't quit football, she with the jiu-jitsu instructor. It's that you made a promise to your family to be a family man and do the things that you said you were going to do. And Giselle basically gave up her career so that Tom Brady could keep playing football. And when he promised to do that, allegedly, he went back on it.
Right.
I'm not saying that means that she should have cheated on him if that's what happened. Not at all. What I'm saying is when we talk about why they got a divorce, we can't point to, well, it was just cheating. No, it started with Brady's decision to go back and play football, which is why when I talked to my girlfriend, I said, why do you think Tom Brady's a narcissist? He's like, well, didn't he ruin his family by going back to play football?
And there were some jokes about that too.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart made a joke about you basically broke up your family to go 9-8 with the last year with the Bucks, and then Nikki Glaser said something like you lost your weight, you lost so much family, something like that.
And she doesn't. Now you have 8 rings, and Giselle gave you hers back.
I gave you hers
But
back.
the hidden secret of football is it is the easiest family sport there is. You only play like once a week for 18 weeks a year.
Travel 8 or 9 times.
Yeah, quarterback. I mean, everyone knows
not baseball.
football is the easiest family sport ever. And the guy has 50 years of life to not play football. Who cares if he goes back 1 year?
Basketball is getting close because of all these rest days.
It's a good point. But every athlete knows football is a sport where you have no excuse not to be around your family.
They always say football, you can be home by dinner. Okay, let's get to the headlines. We just had to update that because anytime Pete Bellotti is right, attention must be paid.
Exactly.
Bogusch, what do you have, sir?
Rudy Gobert was back in Minnesota. They're facing the defending champs. Their head coach has only one working leg, but the T-Wolves still took a 2-0 lead on the Nuggets emphatically last night. Anthony Edwards scored 27 in a 106-80 rout. That one-legged head coach, Chris Finch, on all that defense.
You know, we've had some really, really good defensive efforts this year, but that has to be right up there with the best of them. On the ball, off the ball, the physicality, execution of the game plan.
Denver shot just under 35% from the floor. They missed 21 threes. Jokic and Murray combined for just 24 points, with Murray shooting 3 for 18. All that followed the latest Knick thriller, this one coming in Game 1 with the Pacers. They led by 9 with 10.5 minutes left. Then the Knicks outscored them by 13 to win 121-117. Jalen Brunson put 43 points on Indy, including 21 in the final period. Rick Carlisle needs a new game plan.
Look, he's really a great scorer. I mean, there's no question about that. But situations where we're using our hands and we're reaching and fouling, we got to look at that and see, what's avoidable.
Brunson shot 14 free throws last night, made all of them. He is the first player ever with 4 straight 40.5 assist playoff games. When it comes to Rookie of the Year voting, Victor Wembanyama was the T-Wolves. Everybody else was the Nuggets. Wemby a unanimous choice, despite being a bust. LeBron's not hanging on just yet, still playing at a very high level, even if those Lakers didn't survive round 1 of the playoffs. Charles Barkley, though, is worried about the future. He doesn't want to see LeBron's version of Fat Jordan in Washington. Here's Charles on Shannon Sharp's podcast.
I hope he retires while he can still play. Because, man, I've been there myself. I saw Patrick Ewing his last legs. Saw Michael Jordan playing with the Wizards.
Yeah, Patrick, I mean, Patrick in Orlando.
Yeah,
Mike and
I was like, that's the greatest player I played against. I don't want to see him doing that with the Wizards.
But is that what we're doing here, though?
Not yet.
LeBron doesn't look like what the Jordan at the end with the Wizards. He looks like he's still the...
Jordan needed more tonal before he got with the Wizards. That exercise machine LeBron sells, because Jordan was not in great shape as a Wizard.
Yeah, he was still good. Like, it wasn't that the team around him stunk. I mean,
No, he was not even a shadow of the real Michael Jordan. Not even a shadow.
that's true.
I mean, the dude would miss dunks off the back of the rim. Oh,
Got crossed up by AI.
I don't know.
But the whole thing about, I'm sorry, Jay, should you retire if you can still play? That seems like that's just for everyone else. I know Jordan has tried to whitewash those Wizards years out of his legacy, but isn't that up to LeBron? He should be able to play as long as he wants to play.
I mean, let's be honest. If LeBron does come back, it's time for his wife to have an affair with somebody.
I would love to see LeBron playing at 48 years old in Brooklyn and schlubbing up and down the court.
Really?
Great.
And then would you be mad when the LeBron roast comes along and his wife gets killed for having an affair with the pool guy or something?
Here. Their personal life's their personal life. I'm annoyed that it's out there in the public and it's being joked about in front of the kids. That's
whatever.
my
Just
problem.
go cry on you. She's $1 billion in the bank. I'm the last person on this planet I'm going to feel sorry for is Giselle Bunchkin.
I'm
First of all, she's
I'm talking about
the greatest
kids.
model of all time. She's fine.
I'm not talking about her.
Well,
I'm
she's the
talking
one in
about
the People
kids.
article crying, not the kids.
She said that they embarrassed the family.
So
she's talking beyond just her.
But also, let's not overvalue this one special. You could erase this from history, and there's still plenty of things for her kids to find that are going to make them not feel good about their parents.
But it's not by Tom. It's not something that Tom Brady produced and created and took millions of dollars to put together.
He asked for this.
He's getting a check for it. He's getting a check for it, and he's up there, defending
Sipping
Robert
waters.
Kraft, who's a perv.
Oh, you can't say that, Pete.
I don't know.
He's got a family.
Come on.
His son's like 50.
Yeah.
His family's got a
Jonathan has
family.
one tear rolling down his cheek right now because you just
And wiping it with $100 bills.
And by the way,
blowing his nose with 20s.
of all these scandals, I don't know if I'm going to label Robert Kraft a perv for what happened. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get into that, but there are many perverted things happening out there.
No, there are, but I'm just saying, like, that's the thing you're defending.
Yeah, I understand.
True.
Good
Really?
point. That's a very good point. I should step away from this conversation.
That was the other thing that Drew Bledsoe said. He did an interview with LeBatard, and they said that the reason they asked if that was staged, that Brady going up to defend Robert Kraft, and he said the reason why it was not is nobody knew Robert Kraft was coming. And that's why the comedians didn't write a lot of Robert Kraft jokes. Nobody thought he was going to be there. Or that's what Bledsoe's saying.
I believe that. It's interesting.
So he showed up at the last second.
Bogusch, you know what's happening here. A bunch of AFC East fans are mad at Tom Brady. And they're like if he was the Bills quarterback, there's no way this dynamic would be totally different. And EJ, a Jets fan, I see what's happening here.
I don't care what Tom Brady does tomorrow.
Oh, Chad Pennington could be out there cheating on his wife and doing roast. And you guys would defend him to the end of the day.
No.
Put some respect on Chad Pennington's name.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Listen,
he wouldn't do that anyway.
I'm the one yesterday who said that laughter is the best medicine. That was not
Whatever.
that was not received well.
You're not Flutie could be stealing funds from his charity and you'd be like, well, he did win the music. Oh, no, actually he lost.
Thank you, Perloff.
I mean, Josh Allen ditched his hometown girlfriend for some movies.
For Hallie Steinfeld. Yeah, it's weird. Maggie
Sounds
wasn't
great.
mad about that.
Not even a little
It's
bit.
always a bigger picture. There's always more to the story.
She deserved that.
Well, not until the tarot card reader said that
That's true.
Haley is the reason why they're not going to win in the next 5 years. Now I'm anti-Haley. Where were we? Giselle? She's mad.
LeBron retirement. She retired.
Yeah.
LeBron retired.
Nikki Glaser had a joke about how she would shoot her boyfriend in the head just for a chance to be with Tom Brady. Maggie would shoot her husband in the head for the Bills to have a chance in the Super Bowl.
No, to win a Super Bowl.
She'd shoot him in the knee.
You'd have to guarantee her a win.
Yeah. And by the way, her husband's such a diehard fan, he would say, yeah, shoot me in the knee. Go. Do it, honey. Do it, honey. He would. And you know this is true.
The fleshy part of the thigh.
Yeah, just,
just a flesh.
Yeah. Would your husband take a bullet for the Bills to win the Super Bowl?
It is the one thing
We should have Andy on tomorrow just to see what's going on
Would you
here.
take a bullet for Josh Allen? He might. He might. Listen, there was a lot of lean years.
I would take
You watch EJ Manuel and then ask me if I take a bullet for Josh Allen.
JP Losman.
Yeah.
What kind of agent negotiates this deal?
I watch Nathan Peterman. I want to gouge my own eyes out. Does that work? Sure. Thank you, Bogusch.
Sports are next.
Are they? That's a presumptuous thing to say. It says Odell Beckham here on the rundown. Let's talk about that. We've got lots to do, in fact. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Peter Bellatti's got something to say about Tom Brady and a roast on that day. He's angry and he's speaking his mind, saying Brady was out of line. Should've known better, should've thought twice before agreeing to that roast. It ain't right, talking about his ex-wife crossing the line. Peter Bellotti says someone needs to find that children shouldn't have to hear all of that. It's not fair to them, it's a matter of fact. Brady, you messed up, it's time to face the truth. Peter Bellotti won't forgive you, that's the truth. Live it through, if we face the truth. Peter Bellotti won't forgive you, that's the proof.
3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. lot happened today. A lot is happening. Make that active voice. Perloff officially lost his bet about Victor Wembanyama. Wemby won Rookie of the Year. Perloff was skeptical, said if he won, he'd drive to San Antonio from New York to apologize, and so now that is happening. And you have no idea how you're getting home, which is...
Well, I'm definitely getting to San Antonio. I might have to stay down there. I mean, maybe settle down in Texas for a little while.
Become a Texas
State
person.
taxes are good.
I love that for you. I think that it'd be a lot of fun if we did make this a little more like Squid Games type style, where you get down to San Antonio with like a rental car, and then you somehow have to get back with no car and $500 in your wallet.
$50 and no clothes. Isn't there a show where they do that, or at least you
Naked
do
and
videos?
Afraid?
By the way, I've already started, and Bilatti's not going to like any of this, but I've already started to plot my path. I'm going to go to a Pirates game, then I'm going to see what the Thursday night schedule comes out later this week. Probably catch a football game, Saturday catch a game, then get to Spurs preseason. It's going to be amazing.
How do you know the Thursday game is going to be in the East Coast?
No. I'll plan the whole trip around where the Thursday, because I'm coming, it's not around the East Coast. I'm going through the entire
Midwest,
country.
okay.
So there are a lot of pro teams. I could hit Nashville. I could hit the Bears. I could hit the Falcons. Who knows?
We need to put a clock on this.
Yeah, good point.
We need to put a clock on this. You have...
Let's raise the stakes.
72 hours.
Right.
You have 4 days, whatever it is.
Now you're thinking like a producer right there. It's true. Everything's better with a clock.
I'm viewing this as a Ferris Bueller's Day Off trip. I'll probably go to a Cubs game.
You lost.
See you on TV catching a foul
You'll
ball.
go to games. Oh, hey, I'm going to go to see every stadium there is.
What? If
He's taking
if
a
I'm
Ferrari.
driving through Nashville, I can check out Will Levis and the Titans. I mean, that's an easy ticket to get.
Fair. So this is official. We'll have to figure out all the logistics of how Perloff's getting himself to San Antonio, and then also how he's getting back.
Let's not forget that.
Yeah, we do want you to come back.
But this is a big bet. My favorite bet now is T-Wolves Nuggets. It's happening. It's all happening. Because as bad as driving to San Antonio is, it's not as bad as throwing up on national radio and television.
Yep.
Lutefisk.
And that's going to happen because I bet Perloff. I thought the Nuggets were poised for a very big comeback last night and in this series. Didn't happen. If the Timberwolves win this series and beat the Nuggets, I have to eat some kind of Minnesota delicacy, which we're being told is some lime jello creation with tuna fish on top.
Julekaka. Yeah. Well, julekaka is delicious. It's a Norwegian dessert. Lutefisk. So my grandmother used to curse in Norwegian when I was a kid all the time. So those are the only words I know. This lime jello tuna fish out of a can sounds bad. The visual is far, far worse.
No.
You're in big trouble here, Maggie, because I saw you were starting to gag a little bit when you just saw the picture.
It's
you're
so
gonna
bad.
If the T-Wolves hold on, you're going to have to eat that.
Eat a couple bites. It has green olives in it.
Pete, you're being hardcore with me. How much does Maggie have to eat?
Oh, Pete.
You got to eat a big bite of that.
Oh, no.
Like a gigantic bite of that.
It looks like kitty litter. It's awful.
Yes.
It's
all the kitty litter rolling around in your mouth.
Oh my God. This is going to be such a horrible image. Yeah.
And you know, Maggie's one of those food people who doesn't like weird textures.
No, I don't. I hate flan and puddings and
You hate
Jello.
flan.
Put it all together. It's going to be in your mouth.
She doesn't like smoked salmon because it's slimy. Right?
Yeah, I'm not a big lox person.
Yeah.
I don't like sashimi. These are the things I don't like.
You're the only person I've ever met who actively doesn't like flan. Flan is universally not Maggie.
She said yesterday she didn't like bacon.
No,
I said it was overrated.
She didn't say she didn't like it. She said it was overrated. That was insane, too.
Yeah. Chris
How's the reaction been to that?
Not good. Swift, fierce, and it's like if I could take some kind of kick to the nuts, that's what I would have taken online.
Wait, it got worse, though.
Luckily, I don't have those body parts.
Bacon is overrated is a very unpopular take. To say donuts are overrated, you kind of did. You said donuts smell better than they actually deliver.
Mm-hmm. Say the same thing about bacon. So
What do you like? What do you like?
What about the
Besides
bacon?
Buffalo Bills football
Right.
and your family? And what is your pleasure? If it's not donuts and bacon, I don't know what's left.
You know, I enjoy a nice bowl of cereal.
No,
So
you are. She is a
total
hardcore candy addict too, though. I will give her that.
I did have to quit cold turkey, and it was sweating the
Hardcore.
Swedish fish out of my blood
Pete,
system.
you were with us before. There was pre-Maggie eating her bag of candy and post-Maggie eating her bag of candy. Different people.
Honestly, I've aged like 10 years ever since the candy left my system. What's up with that?
We should add that Perloff has to eat a bag of candy while you eat that item.
He doesn't eat sweets.
I don't eat.
Oh my goodness.
I think I could put a gummy worm or two into your lime tuna jello.
Oh, thanks for throwing me a bone. A Sour Patch Kid or two, would it kill you?
I'll eat a bag of Sour Patch then.
Pete, yeah, you're welcome to eat.
Meanwhile, EJ still has to run the gassers. We've got all these bets out.
That, yeah.
Go find a field. Let's go.
Wow, that was a lot. Thank you to EJ Stewart. Thank you to Pete Pilati, Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan. See you tomorrow. Big Butts Matter.